Prime Minister Balendra Shah says Nepal-India border dispute to be addressed through expert-level bilateral dialogue. U.S. Undersecretary Sarah Rogers highlights innovation and safer expedition tourism at Ascend Summit 2026 in Kathmandu. Government calls for stronger action against tobacco use and vaping, marking No Tobacco Day. Iran Parliament moves to formalize Strait of Hormuz management amid heightened maritime security tensions. China urges United States to maintain stable and healthy military relations following Shangri-La dialogue remarks. And mixed fortunes for Nepal cricket as men secure big win over China and women exit the qualifiers. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and this is NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere it is 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Prime Minister Balendra Shah told Nepal's parliament that the government is moving forward with efforts to address the long-standing border dispute with India through bilateral discussions involving experts and boundary specialists from both countries. Addressing lawmakers in the House of Representatives, the Prime Minister said the process gained momentum after India responded to a diplomatic note previously sent by Nepal. He stated that the government is now working towards resolving outstanding issues through dialogue between the two sides. Shah also informed Parliament that Nepal has sought views not only from India and China, but also from the United Kingdom regarding the border issue, noting that Britain should be part of discussions linked to historical agreements relevant to the dispute. Responding to questions from lawmakers, the Prime Minister said the government is studying both the latest report issued by the National Human Rights Commission and reports published in previous years. He added that the government's official copy of the Commission's latest report has yet to be formally received.
लिपुलेक लिम्पिया धुरा सम्बन्धी बुझ्न खोज्नु भयो जस्तो लागेको थियो। यस सम्बन्धी नेपाल सरकारले अफिसियल रूपमा डिप्लोमेटिक नोट भारत सरकारलाई पठाइसकेको छ र त्यसको जवाब पनि आएको छ। त्यो जवाबमा चाहिँ दुईटै सरकारले आफ्नो इतिहासविदहरू राखेर, आफ्नो सर्वेयरहरू राखेर, आफ्नो भूमि सम्बन्धी जानकारी भएका व्यक्तिहरू राखेर टेबल टक मार्फत यो कुरालाई समाधान गर्ने कुरा भएको छ र यस सम्बन्धी हामीले भारत र चाइनालाई मात्रै नभएर इंग्ल्यान्ड सरकारसँग पनि कुरा गरेछौँ। उहाँहरूले ब्रिटिश इन्डिया छोड्दै गर्दाखेरिको समस्या अहिलेसम्म हाम्रोमा भइरहेको हुँदाखेरि यसमा चाहिँ इंग्ल्यान्डले पनि सरकार राख्नुपर्छ भन्ने हाम्रो मान्यता हो। यो सबै कुराहरू टेबल टक डिप्लोमेटिक हिसाबले भएर समाधान हुने जानकारी गराउन चाहन्छु। धन्यवाद।
The Prime Minister further said the government remains committed to delivering public services in accordance with existing laws and policies, with the aim of improving citizens' access to state services and advancing social welfare objectives. During the session, opposition lawmakers raised procedural objections after the Prime Minister took the rostrum to respond to parliamentary questions. Prime Minister Balendra Shah also furnished responses to the queries raised by lawmakers in the House of Representatives meeting. Prime Minister Shah said government is committed to wiping out irregularities and corruption. The Prime Minister reiterated government's stance for good governance.
हामीले पहिलो वर्षलाई चाहिँ सुशासनको वर्षको रूपमा लिएछौं। सुशासन भन्दैमा फेरि हामीले विकास नै गर्दैनौं, पूर्वाधार नै बनाउँदैनौं भन्ने चाहिँ होइन, तर यो वर्षलाई चाहिँ पूर्ण रूपमा हाम्रा माननीय मन्त्रीज्यूहरू र विभिन्न क्षेत्रमा रहनुभएका, विभिन्न क्षेत्रबाट आउनुभएका माननीय सांसदज्यूहरू उहाँहरूको निगरानीमा पनि विभिन्न क्षेत्रहरू हुन्छन्, विभिन्न पालिकाहरू छन्, विभिन्न निकायहरू छ। हाम्रो नेपाल सरकार र राष्ट्रिय स्वतन्त्र पार्टीले चाहिँ यो पहिलो वर्ष पूर्ण रूपमा देशलाई चाहिँ सुशासनतर्फ लाने, व्यतिथिहरूलाई हटाउने, यो भ्रष्टाचार एकदमै बलियो जरा बनाएर बसेको भ्रष्टाचारलाई चाहिँ निर्मूल गर्न चाहिँ नेपाल सरकार, हाम्रो पार्टी एकदमै तत्पर रहेको छ। यो चीज विभिन्न कार्यालयहरूमा जाँदा, मालपोत कार्यालय, कम्पनी रजिस्ट्रार, ब्लू बुक रिन्यू गर्दा विभिन्न ठाउँहरूमा जाँदा देख्नु पनि भएको छ होला र यसलाई नेपाल सरकारले निरन्तरता दिनेछ।
Prime Minister Balendra Shah has said the government will provide lands to the landless squatters presently residing in the government-managed facilities. Responding to a query from lawmaker from the Shram Sanskriti Party, R.N. Rai, during a meeting of the House of Representatives today, the PM reminded that citizens living in vulnerable settlements along riverbanks in the Kathmandu Valley were evacuated to safer areas. Also, Prime Minister Balendra Shah has said a stern directive was issued to control misuse of the visit visa.
सुकुम्बासीको विषयमा धेरै कुराहरू आएका छन्। हामीले काठमाडौँ उपत्यकामा रहेका खोला किनारमा जुन एकदमै जोखिमपूर्ण अवस्थामा बस्नु भएको थियो उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ अर्को ठाउँ सार्ने काम गरेको, जसको चाहिँ देशभरि कतै पनि एक दूर जग्गा पनि छैन, एक आना जग्गा पनि छैन। उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ त्यो जग्गाको व्यवस्थापन नेपाल सरकारले गर्नुपर्छ। त्यो हाम्रो सरकारको र हाम्रो पार्टीको मान्यता हो, त्यो उहाँहरूले पाउनै पर्छ। तर काठमाडौँ उपत्यकामा बसेकालाई किन एकदम प्रायोरिटी दिएर हटाइयो भन्दाखेरि विगतका धेरै वर्षहरूमा बाढी आउँदाखेरि उहाँहरूको घर डुबानमा पर्ने र उहाँहरूको स्वास्थ्य अवस्था पनि एकदमै नाजुक थियो। उहाँहरूको स्यानिटरी अवस्था, उहाँहरूको त्यो वासरुम टोयलेटको व्यवस्था, त्यो त्यसको निकासा सिधै खोलामा थियो। सबैभन्दा ठुलो कुरा चाहिँ उहाँहरूको ज्यान जोखिममा थियो। उहाँहरूको ज्यान जोखिमबाट जोगाउने काम गरेको हो नेपाल सरकारले।
Lawmakers have raised several contemporary issues in the 0 hour of the House of Representatives session on Sunday. The HOR members have urged the government to address the issues caused due to incessant rains, rising prices of daily essentials, and unemployment, among other issues of public concern. Meanwhile, a meeting of the National Assembly today passed 2 election-related bills received from the House of Representatives along with messages. The Upper House passed the House of Representatives Member Election First Amendment Bill 2083 and the Voter List First Amendment Bill 2083 by majority votes. Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Sobita Gautam, on behalf of Prime Minister and Home Minister Balendra Shah, proposed the bills to be enacted. She tabled separate proposals before the meeting towards that end. Time now for a short break. We shall be back with more updates. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Now the remaining updates. Visiting United States Under Secretary of State for Public Diplomacy Sarah B. Rogers has addressed the Ascent Summit 2026 in Kathmandu, highlighting innovation, safety and sustainable growth in Himalayan adventure tourism. Delivering the keynote, Rogers emphasized stronger economic cooperation between the United States and Nepal, particularly in tourism, technology, and expedition safety. The summit brought together lawmakers including Sumni Maudas, mountaineers like Conrad Anker, rescue experts, innovators, and tourism stakeholders from Nepal and abroad. Organized by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with the Nepal Tourism Board and 7 summit treks, the event drew over 1,400 participants focused on the future of Everest and mountain exploration. Officials said the visit reflects continued U.S. engagement with Nepal through economic collaboration and people-to-people ties. On World No Tobacco Day 2026 today, Nepal government has urged tobacco users across Nepal to quit the habit starting today. Already, the government has announced increment in cigarette taxes by 10% in the upcoming fiscal year 2026-27 in a bid to curb rising tobacco and alcohol use. Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle said the move targets healthier behavior, not just higher revenue, while Health Minister Nisha Mehta warned of growing tobacco-related deaths and youth-targeted nicotine marketing. A report by Sabika Shrestha.
Nepal government has announced a 10% increase in taxes on cigarettes as part of the national budget for the fiscal year 2026-27 in a move positioned as both a public health intervention and a revenue-boosting measure. During the budget presentation in the federal parliament on Friday, Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle emphasized that the policy aims primarily to curb harmful consumption rather than simply increase in government revenue.
सुरोटमा करिब 10% सम्म र मदिरा तथा बियरमा लाग्ने अन्तशुल्कमा वृद्धि गरेको छु। गैर कर राजस्व परिचालनलाई प्रभावकारी बनाउन छाता कानून ल्याउने छौं।
Officials argue that price increment remains one of the most effective deterrents, particularly among young people and low-income groups who are more sensitive to cost changes. The policy is also expected to align fiscal tools with long-term health outcomes. Public health concerns remain central to the decision. Health experts have warned that Nepal is increasingly burdened by non-communicable diseases such as cancer, cardiovascular conditions, and chronic respiratory illnesses, many of which are directly linked to tobacco and alcohol use. In such context, the tax hike is being viewed as part of a preventive health strategy aimed at reducing future healthcare costs and disease prevalence. Minister of Health and Food Hygiene Nisha Mehta emphasized the scale of the problem, stating that the industry is increasingly targeting young people through flavored and visually appealing nicotine products, often promoted through social media.
हामी सबैले के बुझ्न जरुरी छ भने चाहे ई-सिगरेट होस्, भेप होस् या हुक्का, यी सबैमा परम्परागत श्रुतिजन्य पदार्थहरूमा जस्तै हानिकारक निकोटिन र सब तत्त्वहरू हुन्छन्। यसले मानिसहरूलाई बिस्तारै लतमा फसाउँछ र कलेजो, फोक्सो तथा मुटु सम्बन्धित गम्भीर रोगहरू निम्त्याउँछ। भ्रममा नपरौं, ई-सिगरेट र भेप पनि उत्तिकै घातक र हानिकारक छन्। श्रुतिजन्य पदार्थका यी विद्यमान र उदीयमान चुनौतीहरूको सामना गर्न नेपाल सरकारले नियन्त्रण र नियमन सम्बन्धी कानून व्यवस्थापनको प्रभावकारी कार्यान्वयन विशेष जोड दिएको छ। सरकारको यस अभियानलाई सफल बनाउन मती नै तहका सरकार, सामाजिक अगुवा, शैक्षिक क्षेत्र, सञ्चार जगत तथा सम्पूर्ण सरोकारका निकायहरूलाई एकबद्धता र सहकार्यका लागि हार्दिक अपील गर्दछु।
While most of the public health advocates have largely welcomed the tax increase, some argue that a 10% hike may not be sufficient to significantly reduce consumption among habitual users. It is also cautioned that without strong enforcement, higher taxes could encourage illicit trade and smuggling, potentially weakening both health and revenue goals. The government has also emphasized stricter enforcement of tobacco control laws and improved regulation of alcohol production. Officials have called for coordinated efforts across all levels of government, civil society, and media to address what they describe as a growing and evolving public health threat. Sabika Shrestha, NTV World.
Gold prices have seen a sharp rise in Nepal's domestic market today. According to the Federation of Nepal Gold and Silver Dealers Association, the price of gold increased by 20,500 rupees per tola compared to Friday's trading. With this surge, gold is now being traded at 311,100 rupees per tola, up from rupees 290,600 at the end of last week. Silver prices have also climbed, rising to 5,345 rupees per tola from Friday's 5,040 rupees. Officials say fluctuations in the international market and demand pressures have contributed to the sudden spike in precious metal prices. Nepal's local judicial committees are facing growing scrutiny as concerns mount over their limited authority in resolving disputes at the community level. Established under the federal system to provide fast, affordable and accessible justice, the committees were intended to reduce citizens' dependence on district courts. However, officials officials say their restricted jurisdiction means many disputes still cannot be settled locally and must be referred to higher courts. At a conference in Bagmati province, representatives warned that this is leading to longer legal processes, higher costs for citizens, and added pressure on the judiciary. They are now calling for legal reforms, clearer mandates, and expanded authority to strengthen local dispute resolution and improve access to justice. The 6th Nepal Indigenous Nationalities Film Festival has begun in Kathmandu, focusing on the promotion of indigenous languages, cultures, and identities through cinema. Inaugurated by Film Development Board Chairperson Dinesh DC, the three-day festival is being organized by the Indigenous Film Federation of Nepal. The event features feature films, short films, documentaries, and AI-generated content representing indigenous communities, including Limbu, Newar, Gurung, Tharu, and Magar, among others. Speaking at the opening, organizers emphasized the need for respectful and authentic representation of indigenous people in Nepali cinema. In a world of fast food and global flavors, one of the festivals in Western Nepal is bringing people back to their roots with one traditional dish at a time. Here's a report by Aprila Kissing Lama with local correspondent Sunil Karki from Palpa.
A street food festival in Western Nepal is helping preserve traditional cuisine, promote local culture, and create new economic opportunities for communities. Held in Palpa under the theme Eat on the Streets, Celebrate on the Streets, and Preserve Indigenous Food, the festival showcased a wide variety of traditional dishes that are increasingly disappearing from everyday life. Beyond the food, the event also celebrated Nepal's rich cultural heritage through traditional music and performances, offering visitors a glimpse into centuries-old customs that remain an important part of local identity. Organizers say the festival is not only about preserving culinary traditions, but also about supporting local livelihoods. Many of the food stalls were run by women, helping transform home-based cooking skills into income-generating opportunities. Locally produced agricultural goods were also promoted, providing farmers and small businesses with a platform to reach consumers. Participants say such events have become increasingly important at a time when rising living costs and weaker consumer spending are affecting local markets.
यसले आय आजनका साथसाथै हाम्रा ती खानाहरूको संरक्षणमा पनि अत्यन्तै ठुलो चाहिँ मद्दत गर्छ।
समूहमा धेरै सामानहरू जोडेर हामी त्यहाँ लगानी गर्छौं।
As communities around the world grapple with the challenge of preserving traditional food cultures in an era of globalization, Palpa Street Food Festival offers an example of how local cuisine can be used to safeguard heritage, support small businesses, and strengthen community identity. Aprila Kissing Lama with local correspondent Sunil Karki reporting for NTV World.
International news coming up next. For now, a short breather. Iran's parliament is set to vote on a bill aimed at formalizing the country's management of the Strait of Hormuz, a key global shipping route. A senior lawmaker said the proposal would codify how the strategic waterway is governed, with expectations it could soon become the law. He added that only Iran and Oman have the right to decide its management, noting ongoing consultations between the two countries. Meanwhile, Iran's military command has stated that its forces are exercising full authority over the strait, requiring vessels, including oil tankers, to follow designated routes and obtain permission for passage. The developments come amid continued concerns over maritime security in the region. United States President Donald Trump said he had secured guarantees from Iran that it would not develop nuclear weapons. As reports emerged, he has sent a tougher peace proposal back to Tehran. Any tweaks to the proposal could prolong even further an agreement to formally end the Middle East war and open the Strait of Hormuz maritime route after weeks of efforts to secure a deal, despite fractious rhetoric and the occasional flare-up of armed conflict. According to U.S. media reports, Trump had sent back a new framework to be considered by Iran with tougher terms, though it was not immediately clear what that entailed. Trump has said his priorities for any deal include stopping Iran from any nuclear weapon development and reopening the blockaded Strait of Hormuz. China has called on the United States to meet each other halfway and maintain stable and healthy military relations in Beijing's first official response to a major security address by U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. Major General Meng Xiangqing, the head of the Chinese delegation, said this year's speech reflected the outcomes of the Trump-Xi meeting and further shows stable U.S.-China relation is good for regional stability and global peace.
会议现场的提问和反应当中，我感受到，前不久中美两国元首的会晤，在这次相会上引起的关注程度是非常高的，这进一步说明。 中美关系的稳定不仅有利于两国人民，更有利于地区稳定和世界和平。这一次两国元首会晤的最重要的政治共识，就是同意构建中美建设性战略稳定关系。
Meanwhile, Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro commented on regional security developments in the South China Sea, stating that the Philippines would uphold its territorial integrity and sovereignty in line with its constitution. His remarks came after Manila confirmed plans to receive military assets from Japan in fiscal year 2027.
So perhaps the problem does not lie within ASEAN. The problem lies with the counterparty to the code of conduct. And because with that counterparty, namely China, the claimant states of ASEAN, 4 claimant states, have different issues. And for us, we will not sacrifice our territorial integrity and sovereignty because our Constitution does not allow us to do so.
The US, UK and Australia say they will develop underwater drone technology to protect undersea cables and boost defense under their military alliance known as AUKUS. Australia, meanwhile, has said it will only receive used nuclear-powered submarines from the United States as part of an agreement to streamline the AUKUS deal, with the move branded as a cost-effective measure by it.
This is an incredibly complicated endeavour for two countries, the US and the UK, to be providing the capability to a third, Australia, to operate a nuclear-powered submarine capability. I mean, it's only happened once before, when America provided that technology to the UK decades ago. In the context of a very complicated endeavour, we need to place a premium on simplicity.
More from the international front when we return from the short break. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, has said that its team stationed at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant has requested access to the site for an investigation after a drone strike damaged the turbine hall at the plant. The drone attack was the first one taking place within the perimeter of the nuclear power plant since April 2024, according to the agency. IAEA said it will keep the investigation updated based on further reports from the investigation team once on-site inspection is permitted. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi on Saturday expressed serious concern over the incident, warning that attacks on nuclear facilities are like playing with fire. World Health Organization Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that the Ebola outbreak can be stopped during a visit to Bunia in Ituri province, the epicenter of the current Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There have been at least 1,077 suspected cases of Ebola in the DRC since the outbreak was declared on May 15, including 246 deaths.
The President and the Prime Minister are also engaged. I had already met the Prime Minister yesterday, and they have already allocated $20 million, and they are mobilizing, and under their leadership, with the support from all partners, we believe that we can stop it. But of course, there could be some analysis, that we need to check and see if there are challenges, address them.
The medical charity Doctors Without Borders, however, has warned the rapid spread of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo has created a deeply alarming situation. Meanwhile, Colombia is heading to the polls today to choose a new president. The election is being held after months of public recrimination between current left-wing President Gustavo Petro and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump over a number of issues, including drug trafficking and American intervention in the region. Petro cannot seek re-election and has thrown his support behind Ivan Cepeda. Challenging him are right-wing candidates Abelardo de la Espriella and Paloma Valencia. The outcome of the election could redefine which countries the Latin American nation aligns itself with and how the government intends to tackle drug gangs amid spiraling violence. None of the candidates in Sunday's poll appear likely to win an outright majority, with a runoff vote expected on 21st June. Time now for Sports Update. Nepal's women's cricket team has been eliminated from the Asian Games qualifier after a 5-wicket defeat to China under the DLS method in Kuala Lumpur. In a rain-shortened 7-over match, Nepal scored 50 for 5 before China chased down the revised target of 43 on the final delivery. The result ends Nepal's qualification hopes despite their earlier group stage win over China. Nepal's men's cricket team opened their Asian Games qualifier campaign with a commanding 221-run victory over China in Singapore on Sunday. Batting first after losing the toss, Nepal produced a record-breaking 313 for 2 in 20 overs, led by a stunning innings from Kushal Bhurtel. Bhurtel smashed 129 off just 43 balls, including 16 sixes, setting the platform for a massive total. He was well supported by Kushal Malla, who remained unbeaten on 85, and captain Rohit Paudel, who added a quick-fire 69 not out. Chasing 314, China were never in contention as Nepal's bowlers maintained control throughout to seal a comprehensive win in the tournament opener. Paris Saint-Germain underlined its status as one of European football's greatest ever teams by becoming only the second club to retain the Champions League. Their nervy 4-3 win on penalties over Arsenal following a 1-1 draw in the final in Budapest backed up their 5-0 win over Inter Milan in Munich 12 months ago. In doing so, it became the first side to successfully defend its title since Real Madrid's three-peat from 2016 to 2018, and only the second to do it in the Champions League era 1993 onwards. If it continues its dominance next season, PSG could become just the fifth side to win 3 successive Champions League European Cup titles. Meanwhile, clashes between football fans and police across France have led to more than 400 arrests following the victory of PSG in the Champions League final. Fireworks and flares were set off while several police officers were injured in the fray. Police fired tear gas to disperse crowds in the city centre. There was similar violence when PSG won the same trophy last year, with celebrations turning deadly. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Prime Minister Balendra Shah says Nepal-India border dispute to be addressed through expert-level bilateral dialogue. U.S. Undersecretary Sarah Rogers highlights innovation and safer expedition tourism at Ascent Summit 2026 in Kathmandu. Government calls for stronger action against tobacco use and vaping, marking No Tobacco Day. Iran Parliament moves to formalize Strait of Hormuz management amid heightened maritime security tensions. China urges United States to maintain stable and healthy military relations following Shangri-La dialogue remarks. And mixed fortunes for Nepal cricket as men secure big win over China and women exit the qualifiers. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be up at 2200 hours Nepal time. Meanwhile, do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Good evening and welcome to Business World. I am Siksha Bhattrai. Fresh pressure on global fuel prices and growing uncertainty in energy markets to record investment in artificial intelligence and major shifts in trade, manufacturing and technology. It has been another busy week for the global economy, with decisions made in one part of the world continuing to ripple far beyond the borders. Tonight we take a look across Asia, Europe and the United States for the stories shaping industries, markets and consumer trends around the world. Concerns over instability are also growing in global oil markets, where supply fears are beginning to alarm energy analysts. The head of the International Energy Agency has warned that global oil markets could soon enter what he describes as a red zone if instability in the Middle East continues through the summer months.
The head of the International Energy Agency has warned that the world oil market risks entering a red zone by the upcoming summer season should there be no progress on ending the Middle East war. Fateh Birol, during a Q&A at the Chatham House think tank in London, said that global energy markets could enter the red zone on supplies in July or August if there are no improvements in the war situation.
And the problem is, end of June, early July, the travel season starts. What does it mean? Typically, oil demand, oil consumption goes up. So these two things, the stocks are eroding. Not new oil is coming from Middle East, and the demand is increasing. This may be difficult, and we may be entering the red zone in July, August, if we don't see that there are some improvements in the situation.
He further added that continued instability could tighten global supply conditions further, increasing volatility in oil prices and heightening energy security concerns for the importing countries.
The situation in the Middle East is also influencing diplomatic and economic decisions across Europe. The European Union has widened its sanctions framework against Iran, introducing new measures linked to maritime security and freedom of navigation in the Middle East.
The European Union Council has expanded its legal sanctions framework against Iran to include actions that threaten freedom of navigation in the Middle East as a basis for restrictive measures. In a statement released the same day, the EU Council said the revision builds upon existing EU restrictive measures against Iran. Under the updated framework, the EU can impose sanctions on the individuals and entities that participate in or support Iranian actions and policies deemed to threaten maritime security in the region. Measures under the framework include travel bans, asset freezes, and prohibitions on EU citizens and companies providing financial or economic resources to the listed targets. Iran has not yet responded to this.
A very different kind of power struggle is now unfolding in the global technology and defense sector. SpaceX is reportedly at the center of growing tensions with the Pentagon over the rising cost of Starlink military services, highlighting how private technology companies are gaining unprecedented influence in global defense operations.
SpaceX is facing growing tensions with the Pentagon over the cost of its Starlink network, which shows the increase in financial and strategic influence of the company in the defense sector. SpaceX raised the connection fee for military drone operations from around $5,000 to nearly $25,000 per terminal per month during the ongoing Iran conflict. The Pentagon ultimately agreed to the higher pricing, increasing the operational cost of some drone systems significantly. The dispute also reportedly extends to plans for Starlink's direct-to-cell service in Iran, with SpaceX proposing charges of up to $500 million for deployment and around $100 million per month for operations. The negotiations underline the Pentagon's growing dependence on SpaceX technology. Starlink currently operates roughly 10,000 satellites, accounting for more than 60% of all active satellites in orbit, far ahead of rival networks. SpaceX generated an estimated $11.4 billion in Starlink revenue in 2025 and is reportedly preparing for a major IPO. Analysts say the company's expanding role in military communications and defense infrastructure is giving it increasing leverage in negotiations with the U.S. government. The Pentagon has reportedly been exploring alternative providers, but officials acknowledge that few competitors currently match Starlink's global coverage and battlefield communication capabilities.
The artificial intelligence boom continues to attract a massive investment and reshape the global technology industry. NVIDIA says it plans to significantly increase investment in Taiwan, reinforcing the island's central role in the rapidly expanding global artificial intelligence supply chain.
NVIDIA says it will increase its investment in Taiwan to around $150 billion a year, according to CEO Jensen Huang speaking at an event in Taipei. The U.S. chip giant chief described Taiwan as the epicenter of the AI revolution, saying the island is booming and will remain central to global artificial intelligence development. Huang said NVIDIA's spending, up from around $100 billion, will help build a stronger technology ecosystem and expand its engineering base in the region. Taiwan is already a global hub for semiconductor manufacturing, with companies like TSMC and Foxconn playing key roles in NVIDIA's supply chain for advanced AI chips and data center systems.
The race for AI dominance is also intensifying competition for skilled workers in the semiconductor industry. Samsung Electronics employees have approved a new bonus agreement with management, easing concerns over possible labor tensions at a time when soaring demand for AI memory chips is driving strong profits for the company.
Employees at Samsung Electronics have approved a new bonus agreement with management following concerns over a potential strike during a period of surging chip profits driven by the global artificial intelligence boom. The deal was backed by more than 73% of union members and ensures tens of thousands of workers will receive performance-linked payouts tied to the company's semiconductor division earnings. Samsung has seen profits soar in recent quarters as demand for AI-powered memory chips continues to rise, with operating income jumping sharply year on year and its market value crossing the $1 trillion mark. The agreement is seen as a move to retain skilled engineering talent amid fierce global competition, as South Korea's chip industry remains central to the country's export-driven economy.
Attention is also turning toward the digital space, where governments are moving to tighten regulations and online protections. Malaysia is introducing stricter online safety rules for digital platforms, including new protections aimed at limiting social media access and exposure to harmful content for users under the age of 16.
Malaysia will require digital platforms to introduce safeguards from June 1st to restrict account registration and ownership by users under the age of 16. The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission said the new rules also mandate stronger content governance to reduce young users' exposure to harmful materials online. The measures are designed to provide age-appropriate protections for high-risk platform features, with regulators allowing a reasonable grace period for companies to comply. Authorities said the framework will be outcome-based, giving platforms flexibility to adopt appropriate verification and safety solutions while meeting the legal requirements. The move follows growing concern over online harms in Malaysia, including scams, cyberbullying, and illegal content involving children, with broader age verification rules planned for 2026.
And regional trade cooperation was also high on the agenda this week in China. Trade ministers from across the Asia-Pacific region have concluded the latest APEC meeting in China with discussions focused on strengthening regional trade, investment cooperation and supply chain resilience.
The 32nd Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC ministers responsible for trade meeting concluded in East China's Suzhou on Saturday, yielding fruitful results and laying significant groundwork for the APEC Economic Leaders meeting in November. The trade ministers meeting focused on building an open and predictable regional and multilateral economic and trade order and fostering new engines of innovative and dynamic trade and investment cooperation. Chinese Commerce Minister Wang Wentao briefed the media on the meeting's outcomes at a press conference. Wang said the meeting issued a joint statement titled the Suzhou Statement and approved the latest edition of the APEC Roadmap for Innovative, Competitive and Resilient Services. Wang said that parties agreed to advance policy innovation and reform in services sector, build an open and predictable investment environment, improve regional trade facilitation and supply chain resilience, strengthen standards coordination and enhance intellectual property protection.
In South Asia, policymakers are now focusing on stimulus measures to revive economic activity and protect jobs. Bangladesh's central bank has announced a multi-billion-dollar stimulus package aimed at restarting closed factories, supporting businesses and protecting jobs as economic growth slows.
Bangladesh Central Bank has announced a 600 billion taka equivalent to $5 billion stimulus package to revive shuttered factories and support businesses as economic growth slows. The package aims to restart production, create jobs, and restore business confidence as export-oriented industries, especially the ready-made garment sector, struggle with weaker global demand, higher input costs, and supply chain disruptions, while rising import bills add to pressure on the economy amid geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. The largest allocation, amounting to 200 billion taka, will be used to reopen closed and distressed factories and support service sector businesses. The central bank estimates the program could help create around 250,000 jobs.
Global uncertainty is also putting pressure on Southeast Asia's manufacturing sector. Thailand's automobile industry has slipped to its weakest production level in 5 years, with exporters facing mounting pressure from global instability, rising energy cost and slowing industrial demand.
Thailand's car manufacturing sector has fallen to its lowest level in 5 years in April, as export disruptions linked to the war in the Middle East and rising energy cost weighed on industrial output, according to the Federation of Thai Industries (FTI). Auto production declined 0.44% year-on-year to 103,794 units in April, reversing a 2.69% increase recorded in March, according to the industry body. Thailand, Southeast Asia's largest automotive production hub, serves as a key export base for global manufacturers, including Toyota, Honda, and Chinese automakers such as BYD and Great Wall Motors, which have expanded investments in recent years to serve both domestic and overseas markets. Despite the downturn, the FTI has maintained its forecast that car production will rise 3% to 1.5 million units in 2026, following a 0.9% decline to 1.455 million units last year.
While parts of the technology industry continue to surge, China's luxury retail sector is facing a very different environment. French luxury retailer Galeries Lafayette has closed its flagship Beijing store after more than a decade in operation, reflecting broader changes in consumer behavior and slower growth in China's luxury market.
The French luxury department store Galeries Lafayette has closed its first flagship outlet in Beijing, marking an end to 13 years of operations in the Chinese capital amid weakening domestic consumption and changing retail preferences. The 6-story store, which opened in 2013 near the city's historic center, had become a landmark for international luxury shopping during China's rapid consumption boom in the last decade. However, the company says shifting consumer behavior, reduced demand for large department stores, and broader economic pressures have made the business model increasingly unsustainable. The closure reflects wider challenges facing global luxury brands in China as the sector adjusts to slower growth, changing spending habits, and a post-pandemic retail environment.
At the same time, countries are continuing to push investment into renewable energy and long-term alternatives. Germany is pushing forward with its renewable energy ambitions as construction continues on what is expected to become the world's tallest wind turbine, a project symbolizing the country's transition away from coal dependency.
A wind turbine built as the world's tallest is rising in eastern Germany, winning praise as a beacon for a clean, green energy future. The giant structure, set to dwarf the Eiffel Tower at 365 meters once completed, is going up in the former coal mining region of Lusatia in Brandenburg state. Once its huge rotor blades start spinning before the end of the year, it is expected to generate enough electricity to power 7,500 households. Developers say the project is part of Germany's broader transition away from fossil fuels, particularly in regions historically dependent on coal mining such as Lusatia. Officials also hope the landmark turbine will attract investment in renewable energy infrastructure while serving as a symbol of industrial transformation in the area.
Meanwhile, Nepal's hydropower expansion is gathering pace, with construction now underway on a key access tunnel for the Lower Sethi hydropower project in Tanohu. The tunnel is expected to play a crucial role in the development of one of the country's major upcoming energy projects.
Construction of the access tunnel for the 126-megawatt Lower Sethi hydropower project under construction in Tanohu has begun. The tunnel being built at Devghat Rural Municipality 4 is considered crucial for the construction of the project's main structures. Tanohu Hydropower Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of the Nepal Electricity Authority, has moved forward with the work after signing a contract with RK Hydro Engineering and Associates. According to project chief Hari Kumar Shrestha, the construction had been delayed for some time due to pending approval for the use of explosives, but work has now started after the necessary clearance was obtained. The semi-reservoir type peaking run-of-the-river project aims to generate more than 520 million units of electricity annually. A 32-meter high dam will be constructed on the Sethi River near Saranghat in Bandipur Rural Municipality, creating a reservoir approximately 12.7 kilometers long. Stored water will be diverted through a 6.75-kilometer tunnel to the semi-underground powerhouse located at Gaighat in Devghat Rural Municipality. The estimated cost of the project is $227 million.
And finally tonight, a lighter story from the Gulf region where mango season is helping strengthen regional trade ties. The annual Mango Mania Festival got underway across Gulf markets in the UAE, bringing together dozens of mango varieties while also highlighting the growing trade relationship between India and the Gulf region.
The 23rd edition of the annual Mango Mania Festival is underway in UAE's Gulf Cooperation Council markets with aim to boost Indian agricultural exports and strengthen regional trade ties. The festival features more than 85 mango varieties sourced from India and other international suppliers, with organizers expecting around 3,200 tons of mangoes to be sold across GCC outlets during the season. A key highlight of the campaign is the GI-tagged Kesar mango from Junagadh in Gujarat, often referred to as the Queen of Mangoes. The variety gained renewed diplomatic visibility after Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi presented a box of premium Kesar mangoes to UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan during a recent state visit. India remains the world's largest mango producer, accounting for more than 45% of global output and cultivating over 1,200 varieties, including 17 with a geographical indication status.
And that's all for this edition of Business World. From energy and technology to trade, manufacturing and retail, this week's developments reflected both the opportunities and challenges facing economies around the world as industries continue to adapt to rapid change. Thank you for watching. I am Siksha Bhattrai. Stay informed and stay connected. Good night.
What if I told you a story of a place shrouded in mystery and steeped in stones? A place where warriors were born and raised and their path through the mountains still remain to this day. Ajirkot Gorkha, the unbeaten kingdom.
हामी पाहुनाहरु आउनु हुँदाखेरि हामी यसरी स्वागत गर्छौं अनि अलि-अलि नाचगानहरु देखाउँछौं मेरो सिंहो नेपाल गाउँकी गोरखामा गर्व लाग्छ जन्मिएछु साथै स्वर्गमा म त नेपालकी छोरी भन्छन् गोरखाली जस्तो घाटु चुड्काहरू भन्ने चाहिँ विशेष गरी हुन्छ यहाँ
those seeking a luxurious escape, there are stunning lodges that offer an indulgent retreat amidst the rugged beauty of this place. But for the true adventurers, this place has it all. From trekking through dense forest of Nagapokari trails to exploring ancient temples and learning the rich history of the region. So, what do you fancy? Are you the solo explorer, or do you prefer luxury within nature? Or perhaps you are the one who seeks to witness it all. Well, after all, life is a box of chocolates, and this place is filled with surprises. Welcome to the place where magic and reality intertwine, where the wonders of nature are both breathtaking and awe-inspiring. From the elevations of 300 meters to a towering 8,000 meters, this place will leave you mesmerized and in awe.
Welcome to Declassified Beyond the Brief. I am Devendra Subedi. What is the importance of scientific research and academics in our day-to-day life? Do the breakthroughs and findings made by great scientists and researchers matter in everyday life of a common person like us? In this episode, we try to declassify the value of academics in life, history-making finding of a Nobel laureate, major challenges the world is facing, the cosmos, the universe, and much more. It is our honor and privilege to welcome Nobel laureate Professor Dr. Takaaki Kazita in the studios of Nepal Television and NTV World. Professor Kazita, welcome to NTV World.
Thank you.
You were the chief guest of the 51st convocation of one of the largest universities of the world, Tribhuvan University. Now, how much do countries like Nepal contribute in the global ecosystem of physics, Professor?
Well, as far as I think, physics is truly a global effort. Therefore, I think Nepal is one of the important contributors to the development of physics.
So Nepal can play or has played, Professor, so far?
Well, I hope Nepal can play more significant role in the future.
Now, going back to the universities, Professor, how did the Japanese universities where you studied shaped your scientific journey up to the Nobel Prize and the research that you conducted?
Thank you for this question. When I was young, I think the Japanese national universities have a kind of academic freedom. I can spend all my time for the research. I think that kind of environment was very important to really produce important scientific result.
But in our part, we often talk about practical education. It should be more day-to-day use. This should come into, but that is the importance of research, isn't it, Professor? We should concentrate. And what about the investment in research?
Well, I think both fundamental research and research that can contribute to tomorrow's life are both important. So we have to support both sides.
If Nepal have to strengthen its higher education system, let's say, what lessons can it learn from Japan at this present time?
In the last 20 or so years, Japanese government tried to reduce the support to the Japanese national universities. Then the effect was clear. The number of papers or number of highly cited papers rapidly decreased. So I think the support from the government, support from all the people in the country is very important for the development of science.
Now we move on to one of the things that you mentioned in your Convocation Day speech, Professor Kazita. You mentioned about some of the major issues the world is facing right now. Can you elaborate something more onto your speech?
Well, I think I had several points. First of all, I mentioned AI, and AI is a kind of new technology, and it seems AI is really going to be really important for our future, and therefore we have to think about the way how to use AI properly. Of course, there are other issues such as climate change. This is again a global issue. Therefore, we all have to work hard to stop the global warming.
How about the geopolitical tensions surrounding this world, Professor Kazita?
Well, I don't want to go into too details about this issue, but well, compared with, say, 20 years ago, well, I am really feeling that our world is changing. I really like to have our world 20 years ago.
That was much better.
Much better, yes.
Will the global dynamics, Professor Kazita, always be dictated by the countries who have a lot of spending in scientific research or the ones that have robust economy? Who do you think will dictate the global dynamics?
Certainly, nowadays, some countries try to control everything, but well, I think every country, every people are player in the world.
So it should be a collaborative world.
Yes.
If you said you can't comment much on that one, now I come to your topic, physics, Professor Kazita. Will the nuclear threat or the race that we see in this world after the evolution of technologies like nuclear fusion, nuclear fission, will that ever end, or are we going to ever see an end to this one?
Difficult question. Well, certainly, as far as the energy is concerned, if we have enough renewable energy resources, I hope we can forget about the nuclear powers and so on. But for the moment, we are not yet that position. So therefore, we still have, in my opinion, we still have to think seriously what will be the best way for the future.
There are always pros and cons of every discovery or whenever there's a new evolution. Should the ones that are a threat to humanity or the environment be, let's say, eliminated right from the initial phase, or they should carry on? Let's take the example of cloning. Like, let's say now we have even reached up to human cloning. There's still a debate in that one. So such type of researches and experiments, should those things be promoted or should not be done at all?
Well, I'm certainly in a little bit conservative side. Well, nowadays, well, the things that science can do have expanded so much. Therefore, when we think about any application, we have to be very serious, and we need to have a significant discussion, and we need to have a consensus among the society.
So does that involve the scientific community only or the common people as well?
I think we should involve the common people.
Now we move on to your specific research area, Professor Kazita, that won you a Nobel Prize in 2015, physics, the cosmic rays and the neutrino oscillation. What is neutrino physics and how is it different from the particle physics?
Neutrino physics is part of particle physics, but well, we think now neutrino physics is important because about 25 years ago, people discovered neutrino oscillations that implies neutrinos have small mass. And small mass of neutrinos might be the window to study physics beyond the standard model of particle physics. Therefore, well, we are excited.
Let's say this is something, a standard ball pen. How small and deep is your research when you study the neutrino oscillation? How small is the particle? To what depth do you reach?
Well, in the standard scenario, neutrinos do not have the size. Therefore, I cannot say how small.
Exactly how small they are. But they are not visible to our eyes, are they?
No, it's not possible even for particle physics experiments. We cannot see neutrinos.
So, in simple terms, Professor Kazita, neutrino oscillation What is it and why it matters to common people like us?
Oh, okay. Well, neutrino oscillations are phenomena that neutrinos, while traveling in the vacuum or even in the matter, they change their type.
Yeah.
That is the neutrino oscillations, and this happens if neutrinos have small mass. Of course, even if neutrinos have small mass, it doesn't matter to our daily life.
It doesn't matter, but it does shape the future of humanity, isn't it?
Well, as a humanity, we would like to understand the secrets of the universe,
Yeah.
and therefore we may contribute to expanding our knowledge.
How challenging was it, Professor Kazuta, to prove the neutrino oscillation theory experimentally?
Well, okay. When we discovered neutrino oscillations in 1998, well, people were not sure if really neutrinos oscillate. Therefore, we thought it's very important to convince neutrino physicists with a very clear data.
So with the experiment, you provided that data to your team and that did the research?
Yes, our team provided the clean data, yes.
I heard you say, Professor Kazuta, my failed research, unsuccessful research, gave me a PhD. And the one that was successful earned you a Nobel Prize. You said somewhere this statement of yours. Can you explain on that one?
Yes, okay, thank you. Well, when I was a PhD student, I wanted to observe proton decays. I was unable to observe, but fortunately I got PhD.
For that particular research?
Yes. And well, even after PhD, I continued search for proton decays. Then, in some day, I noticed that the background events to the search for proton decays are not understood. That was neutrino interactions. Then I changed to this topic.
What does your discovery mean for humanity's or our, let's say, understanding of the matter and the cosmos?
Well, certainly, if we understand, for example, why neutrino mass is so small, it will certainly give us a better understanding of the fundamental theory of the particles, and these particle theories could help understand the universe better.
Is there any practical application of that in our day-to-day life?
No, I don't expect so.
Professor Kazuta, you have spoken of super and hyper Kamiokande. You have already worked on that, going underneath the earth and then doing the experiment. Can you explain in simple terms to our viewers what exactly was that Kamiokande? Or you were even talking about the hyper Kamiokande now, which you want to work on.
Okay, thank you. Well, let me talk about the super Kamiokande experiment. It is a very large detector located in deep underground. It is located about 1,000 meter deep underground, and the size is about 40 meter in diameter and 40 meter high, and it contains 50,000 tons of extremely clean water. And you may ask, why you need 50,000 tons of water? Well, the problem is neutrinos essentially pass through everything, but very rarely they interact with matter. Therefore, in order to observe neutrino events, we need large volume. Therefore, we use 50,000 tons of water.
You went underneath, almost 1 kilometers underneath the surface of Earth in that reactor, and then how long did it take to come up with the finding?
Well, in fact, Super Kamiokande was large enough. Therefore, in order to discover neutrino oscillations, it took only 2 years.
How large will be the Hyper Kamiokande you are talking about?
Hyper Kamiokande will be about 8 times larger in volume than Super Kamiokande.
When are you expecting, are you already into that mission, or are you expecting to do it pretty soon?
I think the experiment will start in 2028, so less than 3 years.
So you said there's a lot of collaboration in that one, 22 countries coming together for the Kamiokande. How about this Hyper Kamiokande?
22 or 3 countries in collaboration is the Hyper Kamiokande experiment. Even in Super Kamiokande, we have collaborators from 11 countries.
11 countries then. So you are doubling the number, and it's 8 times larger experiment. I would like to wish you all the best for your Hyper Kamiokande right here, right now, Professor Kajita, and hopefully the findings will land you another Nobel Prize.
Thank you, but I'm not deeply involved in Hyper Kamiokande.
All right, but you are the one who started this with the Super one, and then hopefully that will be carried forward by the new generation of researchers.
Yes, I hope so.
How important is sustained investment in basic research or scientific breakthroughs in developing countries like Nepal, Professor?
Well, it's an important point. Well, from our experience, I can say the sustained support by the government is really important to carry out basic research. Well, it's not easy to produce important results in basic science, but well, in our case, government was very supportive, and we were able to produce important results over the past 30 years.
Any suggestion you have for developing countries like Nepal, where, as earlier I mentioned, we only talk about practical education, more day-to-day life applications, and why they should also spend in research and all this sort of stuff. Any suggestion you have, Professor?
Well, first of all, in order to develop science, academic freedom is important. So researchers can select whatever they would like to do. So that kind of freedom is very important, and sometimes their research cannot contribute to tomorrow's life. But if we think about the long history of humanity, the basic science, in some cases, contributes significantly to humanities. Therefore, the support to basic science is very important, even in Nepal.
Do you think Nobel-level discoveries or research or findings are possible from countries like Nepal or any other developing countries as well?
I think so. But, well, supporting basic science is really the key to get the fundamental research result.
You spoke about perseverance in your speech in the convocation day. How important is perseverance and patience?
Well, it's absolutely essential to be able to continue the research for a long time.
For example, once you did your research and you couldn't find the proton decaying thing and you earned your PhD, had you left it there, you would not have reached up to the findings that you have made there. But today, nowadays, youths or even people are very much result-oriented. They want immediate result. They want immediate success. What message you have for them?
I think it's important that researchers find important questions, and it may take long time to answer to these important questions. But if you think this question is important, you should persuade.
So keep working on, think about the long-term impact, do investment from the government side, and the young researchers do not look for immediate success.
That's right. And, well, I think nowadays young researchers have a very high pressure in order to get the next job. Therefore, it's very important that government support young researchers' position, permanent position.
How important is physics, Professor Kazita, to human existence itself, to humanity? Physics.
Well, it's a difficult question. Well, as humanity, we would like to understand the universe better, and we physicists can contribute to our better understanding of the universe. Maybe that's all we can do.
As I earlier asked, in that practical thing you said, our better understanding of our universe. We should understand our universe better. And maybe the researchers in future can take your learning and apply there. How should humanity balance this curiosity-driven science with immediate societal needs?
I think this is a very important question. And well, certainly, as a physicist working on fundamental things, I really hope stronger support for fundamental research, but the balance between the fundamental research and the improvement of the tomorrow's life is always an issue. And I think we have to discuss as a community what will be the best way for the moment.
Information technology is evolving.
Yeah.
You spoke about AI earlier as well. Do you see it as a challenge, or will it complement human efficiency in the long term?
I think we have to, well, first of all, it is not possible to avoid the use of AI anymore. Then the question is, shall we simply use them without thinking anything?
Yeah.
That is the question. And I think, well, certainly we should use AI, but at the same time, we should not forget the importance of our thinking.
So it's not just the machines. We cannot avoid the use of technology and get the benefit out of it, but don't leave it alone, right?
Right.
Okay. Finally, we are reaching almost at the end of this conversation, Professor Kazita. What message would you like to share with young scientists in developing countries like Nepal?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for this question. Well, as I said, physics or science is a global effort. And if young people are interested in science, interested in understanding the nature, please do not hesitate to do research, to become scientists. Please do not hesitate to become scientists.
Final question, Professor Kazita. Say something about Nepal. This is your third time in Nepal. How do you like this country?
Oh, I like Nepal very much. Whenever I come to Nepal, I'm really excited. If I visit the old temple, I'm really inspired, and I find some similarities between Japanese culture and Nepal culture. So I'm always excited to come here.
Thank you so much, Professor, for your time, your precious time. We were really, really honored to have you in our studios of NTV World. Looking forward to your Hyper Kamyokonde experiment, which will be a carry forward from what you have left. Thank you so much, Professor Kazita, for your time, for your thoughts. We are really honored to have you in the studios of NTV World. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was indeed an honor for the entire team of NTV World to have world-renowned researcher, physician, the Nobel laureate 2015, Professor Takaaki Kazita. In this episode of Declassified, we tried to explore the cosmos, the universe, the findings of Japanese Nobel Prize-winning physics professor Takaaki Kazita. I know for many of us, the findings of the research that Professor Takaaki Kazita made may not come to our day-to-day life, but the lesson from Professor is, to the scientists, to the researchers, do not hesitate to do research. Do not look for immediate fruits. And for the government, please do make sizable investment in research so that the future of humanity can be shaped in a better way and the world can be a better place for all. Thank you so much for your presence in this episode of Declassified. Until next time, from the entire crew, it's me, Devendra Subedi, saying bye-bye.
Culture and identity of a nation or community is deeply embedded in its craft and lifestyle. In this, specialized craft producers are major actors. Besides specialized skills and uniqueness, time adds value to such crafts. In this film, we explore two such specialized crafts, one in Kathmandu and the other in Niigata, that have played significant role in elevating their respective national culture and identity in the world's fair. The capital of Nepal, Kathmandu, is a spectacular blend of natural beauty and culture. Habitat to about 2.5 million people, the city holds a rich cultural history that dates back to the ancient times. The 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites it encompasses are evident to the fact. Swayambhunath, Bodhanath, Pashupatinath temple premises, Changunarayan temple area, as well as the 3 Darbar squares of Kathmandu, Patan and Bhaktapur enlisted in the UNESCO Cultural World Heritage Site are not only a glimpse of its civilization, but Nepalese treasured pride. The civilization of Kathmandu that lies 1400 meters above the sea level seemingly holds a close connection with copper products since time immemorial. Historical text has it that Kathmandu in ancient time was referred to as Nepal. Sanskrit lexicographers have a synonym of tamra or copper as Nepaliklam and Nepalam. Hence, the origin of the name Nepal is assumed to have been derived from the Sanskrit word copper. In Nepal, copper has been a basic raw material to a wide range of art and crafts, including in sculpture, architecture, dete and housewares making. Thus, it has over time been an integral part of Nepali civilization and lifestyle.
इस्वीको सुरुदेखि चाहिँ ताम्रको टुक्राहरूको व्यवहारबाट चाहिँ यसको चलनचल्ती भएको बुझिन्छ। त्यसपछि चाहिँ 6औं शताब्दीमा आएर चाहिँ यसबाट चाहिँ मुद्रा बनाउने चलन आयो। तिस्टुङको भटुवाल र पाल्चोक भन्ने दुई ठाउँमा अंशुवर्माले राखेको अभिलेखमा चाहिँ यो ताम्रभाण्ड तामाका भाँडाहरू चाहिँ सरकारको स्वीकृति बिना बाहिर लानु हुँदैन भन्ने उल्लेख आएको छ। ह्वेनसाङ चाहिँ भारतमा आएर भारतबाट चाहिँ नेपाल भएर चाहिँ चीन फर्केको बुझिन्छ। त्यो चाहिँ 643-44 ईस्वीसम्मतिर आएको बुझिन्छ। त्यो जुन कैलाशकूट भवन छ त्यो कैलाशकूट भवनबारे ह्वेनसाङले एकदमै राम्रो चाहिँ उल्लेख गरेको छ कि यो 7 तलाको थियो। यसको चाहिँ छाना चाहिँ तामाको थियो। यसको चाहिँ नेपालमा चाहिँ तामाको पैसा चाहिँ चल्तीमा छ। यहाँका मानिसहरूले भाँडाकुँडाहरू तामाको चलाउँछ। यी कुराहरू उल्लेख गरेको छ जुन चाहिँ चाइनाको टाङ वृत्तान्तमा अथवा इतिहासमा उल्लेख गरिएको छ।
The earliest known repause image is Garudasana Vishnu, dated 607 CE from Changunarayan Temple in Bhaktapur. Some historical metal idols of the 6th and 7th century are remaining in private possession or in museum collections abroad. A significant consideration as evidence of copper metal craft are the idols dating back to the 11th century excavated in Makwanpur, which is a district adjoining Kathmandu. At the moment, these rare valuables are safely harbored at the Patan Darbar Square Museum. Among the 3 cities of Kathmandu Valley, Patan is comparatively popular for copper craft. Hundreds of families, especially the Newars, who are natives of this cultural city, have been preserving their ancestral legacy of manufacturing copperwares and artifacts for generations now. In Nepal, copper artifacts are made mainly through 2 techniques, either by lost waxing or repause, which is a technique of pounding metal sheets. The Malla period between 1200 to 1482 is considered a golden era in terms of metalcraft in Nepal. An array of work dazzling in its quantity and quality was produced then, much of which survives. The popularity of Nepali artisans had reached far and wide. It was in this period that Araniko, the famous artisan, was taken to Tibet. In 1265, Emperor Kublai Khan of China, impressed with Araniko's work, invited him to the capital and got him to renovate the artifacts in the monastery there, dating back to the Song period. In 1274, Emperor Khan appointed Araniko the director of the court artisans in China. To date, artists in hundreds are committed to continue the legacy of copper craft in Nepal. Among them, some are successfully effortful to simultaneously take ahead promotion and expansion of the craft. Among such names is Rajkumar Shakya, renowned for his crafts and entrepreneurship. Shakya was born on 1966 in Patan in a family of metal craftsmen.
हाम्रो पुर्खौली अब बाजे बराजुदेखि नै यही काममा लाग्नु भएको बुवाले काम गर्नु भएको जासलमा बसेर बुवासँगै बसेर खेल्दै सिक्दै काम गर्दै गर्दै परम्परागत तरिकाले नै सिकेको मैले सानो बेला सिक्दाखेरि त्यति बजार पनि थिएन यो कलाको अहिले आउँदाखेरि यो कलाको चाहिँ बजार पनि अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय जगतमा फैलिँदै गयो यसको चाहिँ उत्पादनमा पनि वृद्धि गर्नुपर्ने देखियो
Shakya's works have made a niche both in the national and international market. Passion, focus, devotion and search for new ideas is what has elevated Shakya's profile as compared to other artists. The incomparable expression of skill and creation of beauty are reflected in his works, which are beyond imagination for any ordinary artists. His widely acclaimed works of craft have been placed at various countries, with Japan, Vietnam, China, Thailand harboring his significant works. The latest is the 155 feet tall idol of Guru Padmasambhav in Bhutan. Based on repoussé, pounded sheets of copper were wrapped around iron skeleton which was built using modern architecture. Supervised by Shakya, it took 4 years for 57 artisans to complete the idol.
2000 Expo ma German ma मैले सबभन्दा ठुलो स्वयम्भूको स्तूपा बनाउने अवसर पाएँ फेरि पछि चाहिँ 2010 मा चाइनामा पनि फेरि वर्ल्ड एक्सपोमा त्यहाँ पनि मैले चाहिँ ठुलो स्तूपा बनाउने र अरु कलाकृतिहरू बनाउने मौका पाएँ त्यसमा चाहिँ अझ मैले चाहिँ हाम्रो हनुमान ढोकाको श्वेत भैरवको मुखाकृति 12 फिटको श्वेत भैरवको मुखाकृति पनि बनाउने अवसर पाएँ त्यो पनि त्यहाँ अब चाइनामा चाहिँ एक्सपोमा प्रदर्शन गर्न पाएँ त्यसपछि अनि चाहिँ मैले भुटानमा पद्मसम्भवको मूर्ति बनाउने पनि अवसर पाएँ
Cultural and anthropological experts have highly evaluated Shakya's efficiency and capabilities.
त्यो 14औं शताब्दीमा जुन परम्परा थियो हाम्रो नेपालबाट अन्य देशमा गएर चाहिँ नि कलाकारहरूले आफ्नो कला प्रस्तुत गर्ने नेपालको कलाकारितालाई त्यहाँ चाहिँ नि स्थापित गर्ने जुन काम गरेको थियो त्यसै कामको चाहिँ नि निरन्तरताको रूपमा अहिले हामीले 20औं 21औं शताब्दीमा राजकुमार शाक्यजीलाई पाएको छौं यस्तो ठुलो ठुलो ह्युज त्यो मूर्तिहरू बनाउने क्रममा चाहिँ नि त्यो मूर्तिको एउटा स्थानबाट अर्को स्थानमा सार्नु त्यस्तै गरी त्यसलाई चाहिँ प्रोपोर्सनेट मिलाउने आदि इत्यादि टेक्निकल पनि एकदमै कठिन काम हो अब यसलाई चाहिँ उहाँले अत्यन्तै माइन्युटली चाहिँ गर्नु हुँदो रहेछ
To reach Shakya's stature, however, takes a lot of dedication, devotion, practice and patience. Thus, not many youth look keen in pursuing with the profession. Keeping this in mind, Shakya also conducts classes for the younger generation in a bid to hand it over to them. Most interestingly, Shakya's son is also one of his pupils and has already joined him in his business.
हेरिटेजमा नेपालको एकदम टुरिस्टहरु पनि एकदम आकर्षित भयो हेरिटेजमा हैन त्यही भएर अब बुवा पनि यसमै लाग्नु भयो
धेरै पनि मैले नि यसमै गरौँ कि जस्तो मलाई लाग्यो बुवा यति आर्टिस्ट भएर पनि अब मेरोमा पनि धेरै एक्सपेक्टेसन गर्छन् होला अरूले पनि त्यही भएर अब सिक्न काम गाह्रो पनि छ सिक्न अब टाइम पनि लाग्नेछ धेरै सिक्न पनि त बाँकी छ
Such noble endeavors, complemented by the engagement of the younger generation, have indeed sparked a hope that the prosperous tradition will be kept alive. For those involved in copper kitchenwares and housewares, the biggest emerging threat is the modern wares, which are both attractive and cheaper. In a bid to preserve their profession, they have now attempted to add diversity to their products based on the demand of the changing times. Meanwhile, there are others like Kalyan Krishna Tamrakar, who, although remaining in the trade, have embraced newer productions based on market needs. Tamrakar has been manufacturing artistic utensils along with internationally acclaimed singing bowls, which are mostly used in meditational purposes.
करीब 28 वर्ष भयो सिंगिङ बोल्स नयाँ सिंगिङ बोल्स बनाउने र त्यसमा अलिकति थेरापिक युजको लागि बनाएको सायद नेपालमा पहिलो नै मैले बनाए होला एउटा फिलोसफी हो र जहाँसम्म युटेन्सिल्स र मैले बनाउने सन्दर्भमा पहिला यो धेरै पहिलाहरू बन्थ्यो र पछि बिस्तारै यो ब्रोन्जको युटेन्सिल्सहरू लोप हुँदै गयो अनि यो बनाउनु पाएको हुन्छ कि भनेर अनि हामीले यसलाई फेरि बनाउन थालिएको.
The market for singing bowls is mostly Europe and is used in intensive research and meditation. The sound created from the balls vary based on the utensil itself and is proven effective for improving blood circulation and hence is used in therapy as well. Tamrakar, whose forefathers had been copper craftsmen by profession, has justifiably promoted their knowledge and skills in the wider market through entrepreneurship. Majority of his buyers are from Germany and Japan.
やはり他で買いが利かないのと、さらにその日本の求める品質にネパールの人たちが合わせてものを作ってくれるからと思います。私のユーザーは心を癒すそういったツールを大変求めているユーザーが多いです。例えばアロマセラピーの方でヨガの方そういった方たちの要望に応えるためにネパールから輸入しようと思いました。そうすると残ってる手作りは大変高いほとんどアーティストのレベルしか残りなくなります。一般の方が使う商品はもう今やネパールでないとできないのが現状だと思っています。ですから私たちのユーザーはそれを望んでますから今私もネパールから大変たくさんの量を輸入しています。
In the Yahikoyama terrain drained by Shinano River lies Niigata city. Rice farming is predominant owing to the rich soil deposit which makes it ideal for agriculture. Besides, it is also renowned for the high-quality copper mines. During the Meiji period, copper mining flourished in the foothills. Adorned in tulip blooms, the designated city of food and flowers does not rest even amidst thick blankets of snow. Subame in Niigata is a city of metal craft and craftsmen that have thrived through prosperity and tumultuous times. At the beginning of the 1600s, lot of artisans came to exist in the Subame Sanjo area, driven by the local administration's policy of encouraging side business. thus originated the metal processing industry from the making of Japanese-style nails known as wakugi. The first artisans also produced household items including agricultural tools, kitchenwares and tobacco pipes. Once Japan started importing Western-style nails, the number of artisans gradually started decreasing. During the Second World War until 1945, the factories in the local area had to be mobilized to produce military goods. The 1950s was a time of mass production and mass consumption in Japan. Thus, metal processing companies grew multifold in number and size. Following the Plaza Accord that largely intervened currency markets, the factories gradually lost their business to their overseas competitors. They did not have as many orders as they once had. As a result, the local business temporarily but sharply declined.
今、燕市で追記銅器というふうに言われている、器といいますか、ものがありますけれども、それは一般的に金工でいう金属を加工する技術の中の単金と言われるものの一つでして、それを全国的に同じような技法はたくさんあるんですけれども、燕市ではそれを追記銅器と呼んでいる。燕市の追記銅器というのは伝統工芸技術としても県の指定にもなっておりますし、伝統工芸品としても指定されていますが、燕市の中ではだいたい今から250年くらい前の江戸時代の後期にその技術が仙台の方から来た職人によって伝わったと言われています。
Kakuhei Tamagawa also learned the technique from the craftsman and hence founded Gyokusendo in 1816. Since then, about 300 artisans have kept alive the traditional skills. The company is currently a leader in Niigata to preserve and expand the treasured tradition of Tsukidoki. It is said during the Second World War, when weapons and arms mass production had peaked, the Tsukidoki industry nearly disappeared owing to shortages of copper. It was Gyokusendo's then leadership that brought back the craftsmen dispersed across the country that helped in the revival of the industry. Gyokusendo celebrates its 200th anniversary in 2016. Today, its outlets are spread in top-notch departmental stores in high-end streets of Japan and overseas. Motoyuki Tamagawa is the 7th master of Gyokusendo. Since taking over the company at an early age, he has worked hard to promote his products and company. Tamagawa, who strongly believes in adapting to business management style with time rather than changing age-old skill patterns, introduced the trend of putting his artisans in direct contact with the customers at Gyokusendo's outlets and during exhibitions. This, he believes, not only helps customer understand the skill and hard work required to create an artifact, but also helps the artisans learn the needs and tastes of the changing times.
顔の見える商売をしようと思ったんですよね。でそこで私考えたのが商社を下ろさずに、直接百貨店に行って、でそこで実演販売をして、職人がお客様と会話するようなこのビジネスモデルを作っているんですね。その玉泉の方向としては、大量というよりは本当銅器を愛用してくださる方に対してちゃんと説明して、ちゃんと愛用していただける方を対象としたやっぱり商売をしていきたいと思ってますんで、だからそういうこと職人も、だから職人をどんどん増やすというわけではなく、ビジネスもどんどん大きくするわけではなくて、ちゃんと玉泉堂というブランドをね、本当高めていく。でお客様のその愛用する 顧客満足度もやっぱり高めていくというところがすごく大事だと思ってますね。
At the Gyokusendo factory, about 15 artisans of various ages work hard by the day to improve their skills. Working with Gyokusendo is a dream for many artisans. Gyokusendo recruits one from among hundreds applying every year. For a craftsman, it can take about 20 to 30 years to acquire proficiency to handle a set of techniques all by himself. Each stroke in tsukidoki is made in such a way such that the marks do not overlap. The proficiency of an artisan is observed in a vessel made out of one copper sheet and without any seams. For the younger artisans, it is a matter of a lot of perseverance and patience. Today, all independent tsukidoki artisans in Tsubame were once trained at Gyokusendo. Among them, a prominent name is of an artist par excellence, Master Norio Tamagawa.
今のその木目金イコール木目金っていうのがもう、のりおさんのことなんですけれども、その土台となっているのはやっぱり玉泉堂で修行していた時代の追記銅器という技術が骨幹にあって根元のところにあって、でそこから、まあ亡くなられた師匠のところに、弟子入りをしたりですとか、いろんなご苦労修行の中でご苦労されながら、今、世界にもこう名前を馳せるようになった素晴らしい作品を作られるようになったと思います。
Master Norio Tamagawa is the pride of Niigata and is acclaimed as the living national treasure, Japan. His insurmountable contribution in reviving mokumegane through his outstanding and unique creation is beyond comparison. The Tsubame Industrial History Museum, which is a hub to compile, preserve and exhibit industrial heritages, has set up a separate section to exhibit his works. This meticulously carved artifact harbored at the museum is the master's signature art piece. The masterpiece is a delicately hammered, refined handiwork that, owing to its traditional aura and aesthetic value, has awed art lovers and consumers across the world.
いわゆる就職って言いますか、会社へ入りますね。従業員として入って、何年か経った時に少し外の世界も見たいと思って東京へ2年ばかり修行に行ったんです。日本の芸大っていうね、その人たちとの交流もあったんで、その作品、私の場合はずっとほら商品を作ってたわけでしょ。商品じゃない作品作りのペースっていうのをね、ああ違うもんだなっていうのをつくづく感じましたね。
The master reminisces it took him 11 years before he could call his product a piece of art. As a young artist, he took inspiration from his seniors to aim high and excel bigger dreams.
作品作りには影響ないね。作品の場合はあくまでも個人の欲求のままに作るんですからね。世間が何を求めてるかっていうのはあんまり関係ない。っていうのは力がいる仕事なんでね。もう70過ぎてね、元気っていうのは今まであんまりいなかったんです。だから私は仕方ないからやってるけども、だから夢はないけども、もう作品をいくつ作れるか。
The traditional skill nurtured by newer skills, tools and technology has elevated the 200-year-old technique to a world-class art. Contemporary tsukidoki products include a wide range of aesthetically distinctive housewares and artifacts. Mr. Tatsushi Tamagawa, currently the chief manager at Gyokusendo, is Master Norio Tamagawa's son. He started as an artisan at Gyokusendo. Since then, much has changed. He has seen the changing business landscape, the diversity in products, which he says directly or indirectly determines the mindset and working style of an artisan.
言われたものを、早くきっちり作るっていうのがというものはいい職人だと思うんですけども、最近はプラス、いろいろこういう喋るものとかも今はそういうふうに、いろいろお客様に説明するとかそういうものも含まれて、全てこなしていい職人になるのかなという感じは最近はありますね。
Most fascinatingly, his son Keita, the youngest of the Tamagawas, also works under him at Gyokusendo. At 20, Keita is already an efficient beginner. Initially, driven by his grandfather's success, when he joined the company, it was but a prized escape for Keita. But now, Keita is intensively working hard to attain the precision to be a better artist.
そうですね。どちらの方もすごい仕事に対して一生懸命で寡黙なので、そういうところを自分に取り入れられたらいいなとは思ってますね。なんか、僕のお父さんもなんかおじいちゃんに真似してるっていうか似てきているのでなんかそうですね。おじいちゃんからはやっぱりちょっと仕事がすごいテキパキ早いので、そういうところをちょっと見習いたいなとは思いますね。はい、そういうところです。はい。
Since the beginning of human civilization, art has evolved based on culture and vice versa. Nevertheless, the demand of changing times has had a detrimental role to play in its course and form. Whether it is Niigata or Kathmandu, artisans continue to express themselves in their artworks. There is little doubt the modern-day artisans' creativity, aided by modern technology, has not only helped preserve traditional skills, but also contributed to the ascent of human civilization.
The Israeli military has increased the zone in southern Lebanon that it has warned residents to evacuate from as it further expands its ground operations against Hezbollah. The Israel Defense Forces IDF reiterated its warning to everyone south of Jehrani River to leave. The warning came shortly after the army confirmed it had taken Beaufort Castle, a strategic point on a high rise above the Litani River. In Israel's war against Hezbollah, every day is bringing a new expansion. The latest evacuation warning is the second time in recent days that Israel has told residents to leave the entire south of the country below the Jehrani River. Israeli Prime Minister said that a significant number of IDF ground soldiers were involved in the operation, which was currently expanding to additional areas. It's another clear indication that Israeli ground forces are moving even deeper into Lebanese territory beyond their original demarcation line of Litani River. China has called on the United States to meet each other halfway and maintain stable and healthy military relations in Beijing's first official response to a major security address by U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. Major General Meng Jinping, the head of Chinese delegation, said this year's speech reflected the outcomes of the Trump-Xi meeting and further shows that stable U.S.-China relations is good for regional stability and global peace.
从上午会议现场的提问和反应当中，我感受到，前不久中美两国元首的会晤，在这次相会上引起的关注程度是非常高的。这进一步说明，中美关系的稳定不仅有利于两国人民，更有利于地区稳定和世界和平。这一次两国元首会晤的最重要的政治共识，就是同意构建中美建设性战略稳定关系。
At the same forum, Philippines Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro commented on regional security developments in the South China Sea, stating that the Philippines would uphold its territorial integrity and sovereignty in line with its constitution. His remarks came after Manila confirmed plans to receive military assets from Japan in fiscal year 2027.
So perhaps the problem does not lie within ASEAN. The problem lies with the counterparty to the code of conduct. And because with that counterparty, namely China, the claimant states of ASEAN, 4 claimant states, have different issues. And for us, we will not sacrifice our territorial integrity and sovereignty because our constitution does not allow us to do so.
At the sidelines of the same event, Shangri-La Dialogue, Australia meanwhile has said it will only receive used nuclear-powered submarines from the United States as part of an agreement to streamline the AUKUS deal, with the move branded as a cost-effective measure by it.
This is an incredibly complicated endeavour for two countries, the US and the UK, to be providing the capability to a third, Australia, to operate a nuclear-powered submarine capability. I mean, it's only happened once before, when America provided that technology to the UK decades ago. In the context of a very complicated endeavour, we need to place a premium on simplicity.
The US, UK and Australia say they will develop underwater drone technology to protect undersea cables and boost defense under their military alliance known as AUKUS.
Activists from the environmental pressure group Extinction Rebellion staged a demonstration protesting what they describe as government inaction on climate change alongside growing authoritarian politics in various parts of the world. The protest formed part of the group's broader campaign urging stronger and more urgent climate action from political leaders. During the demonstration, participants carried banners and chanted slogans highlighting concerns over environmental destruction and political extremism. Organizers said the action was intended to draw attention to what they view as the link between ecological crises and rising authoritarian tendencies. A student activist speaking at the event explained the group's use of the slogan, "Send fascists to another planet," saying it was meant to symbolically express opposition to what she described as ecocidal and authoritarian policies. She added that the message was intended as a form of political protest against leaders and systems they believe are contributing to environmental harm and democratic decline. The demonstration reflects Extinction Rebellion's ongoing strategy of disruptive activism aimed at increasing public pressure on governments to adopt more aggressive climate policies, even as such actions continue to generate debate over protest methods and messaging. Thousands of salt workers in western Gujarat are continuing to endure extreme heat and harsh working conditions as annual heat waves intensify across India's desert salt pans. An estimated 50,000 workers spend up to 8 months each year in remote salt fields in the region where temperatures regularly soar to dangerous levels. Many workers live without electricity, healthcare facilities, or reliable infrastructure while harvesting salt under direct sunlight. Workers depend heavily on water tankers, which reported they arrive only once every 25 days to supply drinking and washing water, highlighting the severe living conditions faced by laborers in the isolated desert areas. Salt workers describe the physical toll caused by prolonged exposure to salt and heat. India experiences intense heat waves every year, but conditions in Gujarat's salt pans are considered among the harshest in the country. Climate experts have repeatedly warned that rising temperatures linked to climate change are increasing health risks for outdoor laborers and vulnerable communities across South Asia. Hong Kong authorities have stepped up regulatory scrutiny of the city's rapidly growing claw machine industry, citing concerns that the popular arcade-style games may encourage addictive behavior, particularly among young people. The move comes as brightly lit claw machine shops have proliferated across commercial districts and residential neighborhoods, becoming a common feature of the city's street landscape. Officials are reviewing whether existing regulations are sufficient to address potential social harms associated with the machines, which require players to repeatedly spend money for a chance to win prizes. Consumer advocates and lawmakers have raised concerns that the games share behavioral characteristics with gambling activities, as players are often encouraged to make multiple attempts in pursuit of a reward. The debate has intensified amid reports of players spending significant amounts of money trying to secure toys, collectibles, and other prizes from the machines. The review highlights growing regulatory attention on industries that rely on repeated consumer spending and behavioral engagement as policymakers seek to balance commercial activity with public welfare concerns. A 10-meter-long female whale estimated to weigh around 12 tons has died after becoming stranded on a beach on the Ile de Ré, a small island off France's Atlantic coast, on Friday evening. Local authorities, together with the National Marine Animal Stranding Network, confirmed the death and are investigating the circumstances surrounding the incident. The whale, which washed ashore on one of the island's popular beaches, drew attention from residents and tourists who reported the unusual sight to local officials. Stranding events like this are relatively rare in the region, prompting a coordinated response from marine wildlife experts and emergency services to assess the situation and document the animal. Teams from the National Marine Animal Stranding Network work to examine the whale, taking measurements and samples to determine its health condition prior to stranding. Authorities are also reviewing environmental factors, including tides, water temperatures, and potential human activity in the area to understand possible causes behind the stranding. China's Shenzhou 21 crew has returned safely to Earth aboard the Shenzhou 22 after spending around 7 months in orbit aboard the Tiangong space station, a longer stay than the usual 6-month rotation for crews. In recent years, missions to China's space station have typically followed a steady rhythm, with teams of 3 astronauts rotating in and out roughly every half year to maintain continuous operation and scientific work on the station. However, this mission cycle was disrupted after a suspected space debris impact damaged the return capsule of Shenzhou 20, making it unsafe for re-entry. In response, China launched the uncrewed Shenzhou 22 late last year on an urgent replacement mission to ensure a safe return option for the stranded crew, who were later brought back using Shenzhou 21. More recently, Shenzhou 23 was launched on May 24 with a new team of 3 astronauts continuing the station's ongoing rotation schedule and restoring the regular cadence of crew handovers. The sequence of missions highlights both the risks of orbital debris and the flexibility of China's rapid response space operations.
A buffalo in Bangladesh, nicknamed Donald Trump because of its unusual flowing blonde hair, has been spared from sacrifice after gaining widespread attention. The 700-kilogram buffalo is a rare albino buffalo with a thick pale tuft of hair that naturally forms a helmet-like style, closely resembling the distinctive hairstyle of Donald Trump. The animal was originally said to be slaughtered for Eid al-Adha, a religious festival where animals are traditionally sacrificed and the meat shared among family and those in need. However, after photos and videos of the buffalo went viral, public interest grew and calls to protect it increased. As a result, authorities decided to spare the buffalo. Instead of being sacrificed, it will now be cared at the National Zoo, where it will be kept under supervision and maintained as part of the country's animal collection. The case has drawn attention both locally and online, highlighting how an animal's unusual appearance and viral fame can change its fate. Akdamar Island in Turkey, visited every year by thousands of domestic and foreign tourists, has created beautiful scenery with the almond trees blooming in spring. The island, visited by tourists from both within the country and abroad, offers a breathtaking view with the blue waters of Lake Van and the snow lying on the slopes of the surrounding mountains. With the almond trees blossoming on Akdamar Island, located in the middle of the Lake Van, nature has come to the life. The island, which can be reached by boat from the Gavas district in approximately 20 minutes, has turned into a riot of colors in spring. Combined with the blue of Lake Van and snow cover remaining on the peaks of surrounding mountains, the landscape has created stunning views. The Akdamar Church, or Church of the Holy Cross, located there, was built between 915 and 921 under the supervision of architect Bishop Manuel during the Abbasid period under the patronage of an Armenian king.
Hundreds of Sri Lankan Buddhists have gathered at the Kelaniya Buddhist temple to mark Vesak, one of the most sacred festivals in Buddhism. The occasion commemorates the birth, enlightenment, and passing of the Buddha, making it a deeply significant spiritual event for devotees across the country. Worshippers dressed in white took part in religious observances, prayers, and offerings at the temple, while monks delivered sermons reflecting on compassion, mindfulness, and the teachings of the Buddha. The atmosphere was both devotional and celebratory, with large crowds moving through the temple grounds throughout the day. In other parts of the city, streets and public spaces were transformed with colorful lanterns, illuminated displays, and decorative pandals depicting scenes from Buddhist stories. These vibrant displays are a long-standing Vesak tradition in Sri Lanka, symbolizing light, peace, and the sharing of the Buddha's message with the wider community.
Are you interested to know about Nepal and its major tourist destinations? Do you want to see some of the best destinations in Nepal? Are you the one who enjoys nature, culture and adventure? If yes is the answer, then come with us. We are introducing you to the tourism heaven of Nepal, the Gandaki province, and the exotic destinations. Gandaki province, the tourism capital of Nepal. Gandaki province is very rich with natural diversity and tourism potential. Pokhara is undoubtedly #1 destination for tourists in Nepal. The valley, blessed with natural beauty, attracts domestic and foreign tourists alike. You must have already visited Pokhara. If you haven't or planning another trip, then these are some of the must-go places in Pokhara. The first attraction in Pokhara is the Feva Lake. Boating in Feva Lake is a ritual for every tourist visiting this paradise. The Tal Barahi temple at the center of the lake adds to the beauty of the place. A round-trip boat ride in Feva Lake to and from the temple is a feature of both the lake as well as the temple. Separate boat ride, watching the reflection of Mount Machapuchre on the lake and fishing spice up the Feva experience. The lakeside along the banks of the Feva Lake is a popular tourist hub. Many tourists in Pokhara choose Devi's Fall as their second destination in Pokhara. The water from Feva Lake exits towards Seti River through the Gupteshwar cave from this Devi's Fall. The mighty water stream rushing deep down into the gorge, covered by water vapor, is a magical sight. Pokhara is known as the city of lakes and caves. Many of the lakes and caves have religious importance. This is Gupteshwar cave at Chorepatan area. Inside the cave, the idol of Lord Shiva is a well-known pilgrimage. Further inside the cave, one can see the Devi's Fall. Mahendra cave is another famous place in Pokhara, and nearby is another well-known Chamere cave. Both the caves can be visited together. Two other well-known tourist destinations in Pokhara are Begnas and Rupa lakes. Fresh fish of Begnas lake is a sought-after delicacy. Rupa lake is just round the corner beyond a small hill towards the eastern edge of Begnas lake. Away from the hustle and bustle of the town, Begnas and Rupa lakes cannot be taken out of a tourist's itinerary. This is the famous White Monastery on top of the hill above Feva Lake. This is also a popular destination for domestic as well as foreign tourists. The top-angle bird's-eye view of Pokhara city from the monastery is a sight to behold. The placid Pheva Lake, the tall mountain range, and the birds like paragliding pilots on the background of Sarankot Hill are mesmerizing. The Bindabasini temple in Pokhara is a famous shrine in Nepal. The best route to visit the temple is on the way to Sarankot. Devotees throng the Bindabasini temple, which is atop a small hill with panoramic view of Pokhara city. The Bindabasini temple is famous among the Hindus across the country. Sarankot is a hill station on top of a hill on the northwestern side of Pokhara. A must-go place to see the majestic Mount Machapuchre and Mount Dhaulagiri in the Annapurna range in front of the eyes, and also the Pokhara and Leknath cities on the other side. Sarankot is synonymous to paragliding in Nepal. Taking off from the Sarankot hill, one can enjoy the panoramic mountain range in addition to the bird's eye view of Pokhara city. Ultralight and zip flyer offer a thrill to adventure seekers in Pokhara and are becoming major interests for tourists. Other places, including Swarak in Sangja, have the potential to be world's best place for paragliding. First time in Nepal, Paragliding Accuracy World Cup was held at this place, situated at Mahapur of Virkot municipality of the district. The place drew global attention after the event. Pokhara, famous tourism destination of the country. Majority of locals engaged in tourism industry. The city of lakes and caves, hub of aviation sports. Some major destinations: Lakeside, Pheva Lake and Tal Barahi Temple, Begnas and Rupa Lakes, Mahendra Gufa. Annapurna Circuit Trek features in world's 10 best destinations and adventures. The trekking circuit is the choice of many trekkers as it offers both adventure along with mesmerizing view of mountain ranges. Arguably the best trekking circuit in the world, travelers get up close with dozens of mountains including the Annapurna, Dhaulagiri, Nilgiri. Annapurna circuit ideally is a 14-day trek. The circuit passes through Lamjung, Manang, Mustang and Myagdi district, including Thorangla Pass as the highest point. Places including Thampus, Ghandruk and Poon Hill are part of this trekking circuit. The revered Muktinath shrine is also part of the circuit. Only foreigners were seen in this circuit few years back, but now domestic tourists are also flocking the area. If you are looking for a lifetime trekking experience, then pack your bags for Annapurna trekking circuit. Mardi Base Camp Trek, also part of the Annapurna circuit, is another alternative route for trekkers who can't afford time. Trekkers can be up close with mountains including the Annapurna range, Dhaulagiri, Machapuchre and Manasalu in this circuit. This 7-day circuit is attracting many trekkers for obvious reasons.
Another famous trekking route in Gandaki province is Manasalu Circuit. This circuit, not as popular as Annapurna, is seen as the alternative, as increasing road access in the Annapurna circuit is spoiling its charm. Not just for adventure and natural beauty, Gandaki province is also popular for religious tourism. Dozens of temples in this province draw devotees in numbers. Hundreds of thousands of religious tourists visit this province every year. These sites are important for domestic tourism. Muktinath is an important religious site for Hindus as well as Buddhists. The Muktinath temple is situated 3,710 meters above the sea level in the mountainous district of Mustang. For Hindus, this area is Mukti Kshetra, and Buddhists call it Chuming Yatsa in Tibetan language. The religious site is famous for Saligram, revered as the manifestation of Lord Vishnu. As per Hindu belief, one who reaches this area will attain salvation. The Manakamana temple at Gorkha district is another very famous shrine for deity Manakamana. Literally means the deity who fulfills one's wishes. Situated some 1300 meters above the sea level, we can see Mahavarat hill range and Chimkeswari peak towards the south, and Mount Annapurna and Mount Manasalu among others towards the north. Beautiful sunrise and sunset is visible from the temple premises. Famously known as the Haridwar of Nepal, Triveni Dham is a historical and archaeological religious site for Hindus. The confluence of Narayani, Tamasa and Sonbhadra rivers is called Triveni Dham. 2 annual fairs draw thousands of devotees from home and abroad, mainly India, in this area. Hindus believe offering prayers and holy water from the river relieves one of sins. The mountainous district of Mustang features in world's top 10 tourist destinations. The natural splendor of Mustang, known as the land beyond the Himalayas, is simply striking. Domestic tourists, along with tourists from SAARC countries and others, arrive here every year. Jomsom Bazar, Kagbeni and Lomangthang are some of the places we can see in Mustang. Manang is known for Tilichu, the lake at the highest altitude in the world. Foreign tourists who arrive here are spellbound by the tall peaks, the suspension bridge at the 5th highest place in the world, and of course, the highest in South Asia, apple farms, and the warmth of the Manangi people. Dhorpatan Hunting Reserve is the only hunting reserve in Nepal. Established in 1987, it covers an area of 1325 square kilometers in the Dhaulagiri of western Nepal, spreading across Rukum, Magdi and Baglung districts. For those interested in gaming or hunting, this is the only destination. This area is the entry point of the Gorilla Trail, a day-long bus ride from Kathmandu to Burtibang or Baglung, and a day's walk from there to Dhorpatan. Gandaki province is also the capital of homestay. The most famous and popular homestays are in this province. Nepal's first ever homestay, Sirubari homestay, is also in this province. Tourists flock this homestay in Sanja to experience the local culture and lifestyle. Homestay is a new concept for foreign tourists and a new alternative for domestic travelers. The Ghalegaon in Lamjung is also famous for its homestay. Ghalegaon is an ancient, almost 700 years old civilization and also called the model village of Sar. The main source of income for Ghalegaon dwellers is tourism. Lamjung district has the most number of homestays in Gandaki province. Kaulepani, Purankot and Bhujung homestays are some of the other well-known destinations in Lamjung. Homestays are popular because they not only provide accommodation and food at an affordable cost, but also give an opportunity to experience the rural life and culture. The Gorkha Palace is a historic monument in Gorkha district. This is where then King Prithvinarayan Saha, who conquered small kingdoms and unified into larger Nepal, was born. Not a faraway destination from Kathmandu, and also a subject of research and study for many. Some of the other attractions: Gorkha Palace Museum, Gorakhali Temple, Cave, Liglikot, Panoramic Mountain View, Barpak, the 2015 earthquake epicenter. Gandaki province is leading in tourism industry and an example how rural tourism can be a source of income. Bandipur is one such place where domestic as well as foreign tourists are seen round the calendar. Panchase is another such beautiful place along the border of Kaski, Sangja and Parvat districts. Panchase is known for its biodiversity and a model for rural tourism. Tourists who want to experience rural life in Nepal choose this place. Gandaki province offers something for tourists of all interests. From a day to a month, you can spend your trip as per your interest in destinations of your choice. Availability of air service and road connection to almost all destinations makes it much easier for travelers to choose this province before others. Adequate hotels and homestays, restaurants and eateries are ready to cater to travelers of varying need and interest. In the natural splendor, the silver-like peaks or the Himalayas glisten. Cradling a pond filled with milk in its lap, the Numbur Himal gleams. The Dudhkunda, meaning a milk pond in Nepal's northeastern district of Solukhumbu, is truly the gateway to the paradise. The Numbur, Katang and Karyalung mountains seem to smile at all times. Adorned with a garland of colorful flowers, the Dudhkunda is overflowing as if filled with milk. The very sight defines nature at its best. Feels as if the Numbur mountain is giving motherly affection, holding the lake in its lap. The beauty is so serene and virgin that one fears not to stain it by touching. Indeed, Dudhkunda is nature at its purest form. Located at Solu Dudhkunda municipality, Taksindu, the natural paradise draws many visitors. No matter how many words are spent describing it, they all feel inadequate upon reaching there. The name itself is fulfilling and equally sacred.
हजारौं नरनारीहरू चाहिँ तीर्थयात्रीहरू दुधकुण्डमा जानुभएको छ। म पनि पुगेर आएँ। दुधकुण्ड असाध्यै पवित्र स्थल, यो हिमाल काखमा रहेको तीर्थस्थल हो, पुण्यस्थल हो, देवस्थल हो र त्यहाँ चाहिँ एकचोटि पुग्नै पर्दो रहेछ। त्यहाँ पुगेर जुन आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ कहीँ पनि पाइँदैन भन्ने चाहिँ महसुस भयो।
आनन्द लाग्यो, मस्त लाग्यो अनि यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ आएर तपस्या गरेर बस्नु जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई।
एकदमै राम्रो लाग्यो हैन, प्रकृतिले दिएको रमणीय तीर्थस्थल हैन, जो कोही पनि एकचोटि चाहिँ यहाँ आएर एकचोटि भ्रमण गरेर दर्शन गर्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्यो।
Situated at an altitude of 4,531 meters above the sea level, Dudhkunda is a sacred pilgrimage site of culture and nature. It feels like nature has blessed this place, and culturally, it has bound all castes and ethnicities in a thread of unity. There are various legends and sayings about Dudhkunda. One argument is that the pond was formed during the creation of the Himalayas and was discovered by local sheep and yak herders. According to another legend, in ancient times, a yak would go to a stone where the pond is located and offer its milk every day. Later, the place was found to be a pond filled with milk, leading to its name, Dudhkunda. This has also led to the belief that gods and goddesses reside here. There are 3 different routes to reach Dudhkunda. One route is through Salleri, Faplu, Taksindu and Sasrabeni. Another route goes via Lukla, the gateway to the Everest, through Nunthala, Taksindu and Sahasrabeni.
nature has truly blessed the Solu Dutkunda municipality. Truly, just like the majestic Mount Everest, Dutkunda has the potential to be the destination for everyone in the days to come. It is a thread of unity among all castes and ethnicities. Just like the holy water of Dutkunda, it will become a pure and excellent destination.
Welcome to the new episode of The Hinterlands on NTV World. This weekly show brings together stories from the hinterlands of Nepal, takes you beyond the cities and highways into the heart of Nepal's rural landscapes. I am Rosina Rai and we will be leading you into this journey every week. Tonight on the hinterlands, we report on Nepal's Muslim communities' Eid al-Adha in various districts. School children in Bardia undertake dangerous daily journeys just to reach their classrooms. We also bring you coverage from Dai Lake district, where hailstorms and heavy rainfall have triggered a growing food crisis. In Baitari, efforts are underway to remove offensive and discriminatory settlement names. And at last, we present a detailed report on the slow progress in the implementation of official ethnic languages in Sangza. We begin with Eid celebrations across Nepal. On the day, the little over 5% Muslim population in Nepal exemplifies the social religious tolerance with a nationwide holiday on their major festival of Eid al-Adha. From historic mosque in Kathmandu to the densely populated district of the Tarai region, thousands gather to celebrate the festival of sacrifice. Vijita Bhandari brings this report on Eid celebrations across Nepal.
How does it feel to celebrate one of your major festivals as a religious minority? None other than Nepali Muslims can better answer this question. Constitutionally a secular country, Nepal has little over 5% of Muslim presence in terms of national population. But the festivities of not only Muslims but every religious ethnic community has gained national status and protected by the constitution. As the country rejoices in Eid holiday on Thursday, hardly a handful percentage is engaged in festivities. Also known as Bakr Eid, the 3 days of celebration is marked with prayers, family gatherings, shared meals and exchanges of Eid Mubarak. Muslims traditionally celebrate Eid al-Adha around 70 days after Eid al-Fitr, the festival marking the end of Ramadan.
Eid एक मुस्लिम का बहुत ही बड़ा पर्व होता है, जिसके अंतर्गत हम सारे मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के लोग एकजुट होकर मिलते हैं और गले लगते हैं. हमारा सबसे अच्छा और सबसे बेहतरीन पर्व में से माना किया जाता है. बकरीद में खास करके हमारे कुछ कुर्बानी के तौर पे खस्सी और तरह तरह के वस्तुओं जानवरों को कुर्बानी के तौर पे ऊपर वाले को जिस खुदा को हम लोग मानते हैं उसके सिद्धांत पे ये एक बनाया गया रूल है.
The festival also coincides with the annual Hajj pilgrimage in Mecca and is observed worldwide through prayer, communal meals, and acts of charity. According to Nepal's 2021 national census, Muslims make up more than 1.48 million people, which is over 5% of the population, making the religious community the country's third largest population. That community forms part of a much broader picture of diversity in Nepal. The country officially recognizes more than 140 ethnic
groups and over 120 languages, with followers of Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Kirat and Christianity living side by side across the country. Researchers studying Nepal's social fabric often point to the way religious communities participate in one another's festivals and share common public spaces in daily life. That dynamic is also reflected in international studies tracking religious coexistence and tensions around the world. Despite the religious tolerance and harmony, some international think tanks have ranked Nepal into high restrictions category. This could have largely come up due to laws restricting forceful or unwillful religious conversion and proselytization. India and Pakistan also fall within the high category, while China ranks among the most restrictive countries in the world. But Nepal stands apart when it comes to social hostility linked to religion. On a social hostilities index by the think tank, which tracks religious tensions and violence involving private individuals and groups, Nepal falls within the low category. As families gather, prayers conclude, and communities exchange Eid greetings across Nepal, the spirit of Eid al-Adha resonates in every citizen, irrespective of their religion and ethnicity.
For many children living in Nepal's remote regions, attending school means overcoming dangerous and exhausting journeys every single day. They walk for hours through forest and isolated trails, often facing the risk of wildlife attacks, all in pursuit of education. Children in Bardia district face similar hardship. She is Samiksha Dangi, an 8th grade student from Thakela village, Ward number 9 of Bardia district, Nepal. Every morning at 8 a.m., she leaves home and it takes her nearly 2 hours to reach her school. Like Samiksha, 130 other determined students from same village who wish to continue their secondary education have no choice but to travel 5 to 7 kilometers through dense forest to reach Dharma Bhakta Secondary School in Katernia. Thakela and Katernia are neighboring localities situated near Bardia National Park in Bardia district, which makes the risk of wildlife attacks significantly higher. Their daily route is full of challenges, rough and narrow trails, constant fear of wildlife, and even greater danger during the monsoon season. Samiksha says that for schoolgirls, the journey is not only exhausting and filled with fear of wild animals, but also frightening because of encounters with intoxicated individuals along the way.
अब चाहिँ यो बाटो पनि कच्ची छ किन आउँदाखेरि पनि अप्ठ्यारो हुन्छ एउटा कुरा त बाटो पिच पनि होस् अनि स्कुलमा सरले मिलाएर गाडी पनि हाल्दिने मतलब ढकैलातिर.
Every day, these students risk their safety simply to attend the school. This is their reality, as the local village school only offers education up to grade 5. Despite these hardships, the children remain determined. However, their parents live with heavy hearts each day until their children return home safely.
समस्या छ बाघ आउँछन् भालु लाग्छन् कहिलेकाहीँ पानी पर्छ केटाकेटीहरुको पानी परेको बेलामा हावाहुरी आउँछ अनि फेरि रुख ढल्छ त्यो रुखको परछ एकदम त्यो पराई पनि कहिलेकाहीँ बिग्रिन्छ.
The school administration has repeatedly raised concerns about student safety with the local authorities and the provincial government. Yet, for more than 100 children in Thakela village, the situations remain unchanged and their daily struggle to continue their education continues to go unheard by the authorities. Moving forward, a growing food crisis is emerging in the remote settlements of Naumili rural municipality in Dailik district. Locally produced grains are already insufficient to sustain families throughout the year. And the last month's hailstorm and heavy rainfall destroyed standing crops, leaving farmers deeply concerned about their future. Diksha Awasthi have more on this report.
Jhala Thapa Magar and Amrita Sunar of Ward number 4 in Naumule Rural Municipality are currently facing severe hardship after last month's hailstorm and rainfall destroyed all their food grains and vegetable crops. They are deeply concerned about how they will manage food supplies for the entire year.
आलु बन्दा के आलु पनि त्यस्तै भयो मकै लगाएको पनि त्यस्तै अनि फेरि अलि पहिला लगाएको भोल पहिराले पुरी र मकै पनि छैन यस्तै माटो निस्काएर बालौटा मात्रै छ गौमा हाटे हालिनम
सबै बारीमै छोड्दिनु
खुर्सानी पनि केही पनि छैन गौ कति धेरै गौ फलेथ्यो अब त्यता कोठराली भराने बेला भित्राउने बेला खाने बेला त्यस्तोले लग्दैन त हामी अब किसान गर्ने खानेहरूलाई त धेरै दुःख लाग्यो.
They are not alone. Around 600 families across most wards of Naumule Rural Municipality have also suffered after hailstorms completely wiped out their wheat and vegetable crops. In the hilly settlements, where agricultural production is already low, locally produced food usually lasts only 3 to 6 months. Now, with all crops destroyed, farmers fear worsening food shortages and hunger. To support the worst affected families, social worker Mahendra Chand, who currently lives in the United States, distributed 170 sacks of food grains after learning about the crisis in his home municipality. Chairperson Chabi Subedi of Naumule Rural Municipality said the local government is also preparing to distribute food assistance to other remaining affected households immediately.
छुटेको लागि गाउँपालिकाको तर्फबाट हामीले न्यूनतम राहत वितरण गर्ने कार्यपालिकाको बैठक र विपद व्यवस्थापन समितिको बैठकबाट निर्णय पनि गरेका छौं.
After receiving food support through the Food Foundation in Naumule itself, local farmers said the aid has provided temporary relief from the food shortage. Every year, farmers in the hilly settlements suffer losses due to natural disasters. Locals say if the government implements compulsory crop insurance programs for farmers, it could provide at least some relief to those affected by recurring disasters.
Even today, some settlements in Sudur Paschim province continue to carry names considered offensive and discriminatory. In an important step toward social dignity and inclusion, local governments in Baitari district have begun renaming such places. Let's dig deeper with Subik Sarajak.
Even today, the names of some villages in Sudur Paschim province of Nepal are uncomfortable to pronounce. The reason is that the names of certain settlements were given in a manner that was outright demeaning. In recent times, however, such place names and even the names of some individuals have begun to be corrected. This settlement, that was once known by an offensive name, has now been renamed Dhungeukhal. This is not an isolated case. Most of the offensive names in the area have been revised. In the past, the Dalit Society Development Forum and various organizations working in the field of Dalit rights had already renamed the names of some places. When the use of derogatory words in both place names and personal names came to light through media coverage and social networks, the government issued directives allowing such names to be formally changed. Under this directive, Patun municipality in Baitari district launched a dedicated campaign to remove all such offensive names within its jurisdiction.
एउटा पानेपा 5 को बसन्तपुर कुलडा भन्ने ठाउँमा डिमौडा भन्ने नाम थियो दलित बस्ती ठाउँमा त्यसलाई हामीहरुले अब मैले भनौं न वडाको नाम सिर्जन टोल राखेको छ किनभने सिर्जना भनेको एउटा कला हो कलाकार सम्झेर जसले काम गर्छ कला देखाउँछ आफ्नो काम गरेर कुनै निधि प्रस्तुत गर्छ बनाएर दिन्छ भने त्यो कला नि हो भन्ने हामीले सम्झेर त्यसलाई सिर्जन टोल राखेका छौं त्यस्तै विभिन्न टोलहरुका नाम पनि अब हिजोको दिनमा अपेलित नामहरु भएको हुनाले तिनीहरुलाई संशोधन गरेर नगरपालिका अहिलेको वर्तमान स्थितिमा अब संशोधन गर्नुपर्ने अवस्था देखिएका हुनाले पनि अब एउटा सम्मानको लागि पनि दलितहरुप्रति हामीहरूले उच्च सम्मान राखेको कार्यक्रम छ।
While Patan municipality is the only local body to have run a formal campaign including replacing signboards, other municipalities have also resolved to correct such names. Dogda Kedar Rural Municipality has made a decision to rectify offensive names and is currently in the implementation phase.
आर्थिक वर्ष 82-83 को नीति कार्यक्रममै हामीले त्यो कार्यक्रम राखेका थियौं त्यो योजनालाई र हामीले कयौं वडाहरुको नामहरुलाई अनौपचारिक रूपमा हामीले प्रस्ताव गरेका छौं। कतिपय ठाउँमा छलफलहरु पनि हामीले गरिसकेका छौं कुन टोलको नामहरु के राख्ने भनेर।
Although locals feel a sense of relief after the removal of demeaning settlement names, they emphasize that actual physical development of these communities is equally necessary.
अहिलेको पुस्ताको नजरले हेर्दाखेरि त्यो अब अलि घेना जन्डक आफुलाई नराम्रो फिल हुने जस्तो लाग्छ।
कला भन्थे ढोंगलाको अहिले ढोंगे उखल राखेको छ। अनि त्यो अझैवटा औजी बस्थे त्यहाँ पनि अब अर्जुनपुर भनेर पहिला भन्थे अझैवटाको अहिले तिलगाउँ राखेको छ।
While the process of renaming villages is underway, the revised names have not yet fully taken hold in everyday usage among the general public. For this reason, the government must also formulate and implement comprehensive programs for the overall development of these settlements.
Did you know that several districts of Gandaki province, including Sangza, are home to significant Magar and Gurung populations? Acknowledging the fact, the province government announced nearly a year ago that Gurung and Magar languages would be introduced as official languages for government work in the province. The decisions initially generated hope and excitement among local communities, but as implementation slows, disappointment is growing among these two communities. Here we have last report on this episode. Many districts of Gandaki province, including Sangza district, have a significant population of both the Magar and Gurung communities. In the province, the Magar community constitutes 18.8% of the population, making it the second largest ethnic group, while the Gurung community accounts for 11%, ranking as the fourth largest. According to the National Census 2021, Sangza district alone is home to 57,278 Magar population and 34,448 Gurung population. Among the indigenous mother tongues spoken in the region, Magar is the most widely used language, followed closely by Gurung. Based on this demographic reality, the Gandaki Provincial Assembly officially passed a bill in 2025 recognizing the Gurung and Magar languages as official languages for the government administration alongside the Nepali.
हुन्न भन्ने आवाज सुनिएन तसर्थ गण्डकी प्रदेशमा मगर र गुरुङ भाषालाई सरकारी कामकाजको भाषाको रूपमा प्रयोग गर्ने सम्बन्धमा व्यवस्था गर्न बनेको विधेयक सर्वसम्मतिले पारित भएको घोषणा गर्दछु।
The legislative milestone fulfills a long-standing recommendation of the Language Commission of Nepal. The Gandaki provincial government's decision to introduce these languages for official use was initially welcomed with high expectations. However, nearly a year later, there has been little visible progress in the implementation. In response, language training programs have begun in various villages and local residents are preparing in anticipation of the language being officially adopted in government offices. Padam Gurung, chairperson of the Tamo Yo chose the National Council in Gandaki province, stated that the government policies and campaigns should only be introduced when they can be effectively implemented.
गण्डक प्रदेश सरकारले गुरुङ र मगर भाषालाई आधिकारिक रूपमा चाहिँ अगाडि बढाए तापनि निर्णय गरे तापनि अहिलेसम्म कुनै किसिमको चाहिँ आधिकारिक धारणा आइसकेको छैन। सरकारको तहबाट चाहिँ यस्ता किसिमको धारणाहरू प्रष्ट रूपमा ल्याउँदाखेरि हामी अन्यल परेका छौँ। तथापि तर हामीले जिल्लामा चाहिँ गुरुङ र मगर भाषालाई तयारी गर्ने कक्षाहरू चाहिँ तर सञ्चालन गरेर तयारी अवस्थामा बसिरहेको अवस्था छ।
Many members of these two communities appear disappointed with the authorities' level of seriousness. Despite this, the communities are preserving their rich cultural traditions and are taking various initiatives to safeguard them for the future generations. Beyond the cities and the headlines, real lives continue to unfold. Stories are shaped by struggle, strengthened by resilience, and carried forward by the hope. This is the Hinterlands, and we will be back next week with more stories from the heart of Nepal. Do follow us on our website, nepaltelevision.com, social media handles, and YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye for now.
Prime Minister responds to lawmakers' queries in the Parliament. Foreign Ministry clarifies Prime Minister's border remarks referred to cross-border occupation issues. Finance Minister Wagle claims new tax structure could help create wealth opportunities and support broader economic prosperity. Government calls for stronger action against tobacco use and vaping, marking No Tobacco Day. U.S. Undersecretary Sarah Rogers highlights innovation and safer expedition tourism at Ascent Summit 2026 in Kathmandu. Iran Parliament moves to regulate Strait of Hormuz as U.S. under Trump pushes tougher nuclear deal framework. And mixed fortunes for Nepal cricket as men secure big win over China and women exit the qualifiers. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Prime Minister Balendra Shah told the House of Representatives today that the government is advancing efforts to resolve the Nepal-India border dispute through bilateral talks with experts. The Prime Minister said momentum increased after India responded to Nepal's diplomatic note. Prime Minister Shah added that Nepal is also seeking views from India, China and the United Kingdom, citing Britain's historical relevance to the issue. The Prime Minister told lawmakers that the government is reviewing National Human Rights Commission reports, while the latest report has not yet been received.
लिपुलेक लिम्पिया धुरा सम्बन्धी बुझ्न खोज्नु भयो जस्तो लागेको थियो। यस सम्बन्धी नेपाल सरकारले अफिसियल रूपमा डिप्लोमेटिक नोट भारत सरकारलाई पठाइसकेको छ र त्यसको जवाब पनि आएको छ। त्यो जवाबमा चाहिँ दुईटै सरकारले आफ्नो इतिहासविदहरू राखेर, आफ्नो सर्वेयरहरू राखेर, आफ्नो भूमि सम्बन्धी जानकारी भएका व्यक्तिहरू राखेर टेबल टक मार्फत यो कुरालाई समाधान गर्ने कुरा भएको छ र यस सम्बन्धी हामीले भारत र चाइनालाई मात्रै नभएर इंग्ल्यान्ड सरकारसँग पनि कुरा गरेछौँ। उहाँहरूले ब्रिटिश इन्डिया छोड्दै गर्दाखेरिको समस्या अहिलेसम्म हाम्रोमा भइरहेको हुँदाखेरि यसमा चाहिँ इंग्ल्यान्डले पनि सरोकार राख्नुपर्छ भन्ने हाम्रो मान्यता हो। यो सबै कुराहरू टेबल टक डिप्लोमेटिक हिसाबले भएर समाधान हुने जानकारी गराउन चाहन्छु। धन्यवाद।
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has clarified that the Prime Minister's recent remarks in Parliament referred to cross-border occupation and encroachment in the 10 Gaja area, rather than Nepal's position on disputed territories. The ministry said joint technical teams from Nepal and India are conducting border surveys and collecting data on land use along the frontier. It reiterated that issues concerning Kalapani, Lipulek, Limpiadhura and Susta should be resolved through diplomatic dialogue based on historical treaties, maps and mutual understanding. More on this in our Issue of the Day segment later. Now, Finance Minister Swarnim Wagle has said the upcoming fiscal year's budget is of a normal and realistic size and not an ambitious one, with a stronger focus on effective implementation. Speaking at a press briefing at the Ministry of Finance, he noted that past budgets often raised doubts over execution, but the new framework aims to address that concern. He also reiterated that the government's new VAT system will encourage the use of official bills and improve tax compliance, with incentives such as lottery-based rewards for consumers. More on this later in the bulletin. Now, today marks World No Tobacco Day, observed across Nepal under the slogan, "Unmasking the illusion of tobacco and nicotine products, stay away from addiction, choose a healthy life." Health experts warn that the use of tobacco and nicotine products, including e-cigarettes and vapes, is rising, especially among young people, and can seriously affect brain development and their long-term health. According to Nepal Development Research Institute, around 6.7 million people in Nepal use tobacco, while authorities report over 39,000 deaths annually due to related illnesses. Experts are calling for stricter regulation, stronger enforcement, and smoke-free public spaces to curb the growing health risk. Tune into our cover story later for more details on this. Next, visiting United States Under-Secretary of State for Public Diplomacy, Sarah B. Rogers, has addressed the Ascent Summit 2026 in Kathmandu, highlighting innovation, safety, and sustainable growth in Himalayan adventure tourism. Delivering the keynote, Rogers emphasized stronger economic cooperation between the United States and Nepal, particularly in tourism, technology, and expedition safety. The summit brought together lawmakers including Sumnima Udas, mountaineers like Conrad Anker, rescue experts, innovators and tourism stakeholders from Nepal and abroad. Organized by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with the Nepal Tourism Board and 7 summit treks, the event drew over 1,400 participants focused on the future of Everest and mountain exploration. Officials said the visit reflects continued U.S. engagement with Nepal through economic collaboration and people-to-people ties. Iran's parliament is set to vote on a bill aimed at formalizing the country's management of the Strait of Hormuz, which is a key global shipping route. A senior lawmaker said the proposal would codify how the strategic waterway is governed, with expectations it could soon become law. He added that only Iran and Oman have the right to decide its management, noting ongoing consultations between the two countries. Meanwhile, Iran's military command has stated that its forces are exercising full authority over the strait, requiring vessels, including oil tankers, to follow designated routes and obtain permission for the passage. The developments come amid continued concerns over maritime security in the region. United States President Donald Trump said he had secured guarantees from Iran that it would not develop nuclear weapons. As reports emerged, he had sent a tougher peace proposal back to Tehran. Any tweaks to the proposal could prolong even further an agreement to formally end the Middle East war and open the Strait of Hormuz maritime route, after weeks of efforts to secure a deal despite fractious rhetoric and the occasional flare-up of armed conflict. According to U.S. media reports, Trump has sent back a new framework to be considered by Iran with tougher terms, though it was not immediately clear what that entailed. Trump has said his priorities for any deal include stopping Iran from any nuclear weapon development and reopening the blockaded Strait of Hormuz. Nepal's men's cricket team opened their Asian Games qualifier campaign with a commanding 221-run victory over China in Singapore on Sunday. Batting first after losing the toss, Nepal produced a record-breaking 313 for 2 in 20 overs, led by a stunning innings from Kushal Bhurtel. Bhurtel smashed 129 off just 43 balls, including 16 sixes, setting the platform for a massive total. He was well supported by Kushal Malla, who remained unbeaten on 85, and captain Rohit Paudel, who added a quick-fire 69 not out. Chasing 314, China were never in contention as Nepal's bowlers maintained control throughout to seal a comprehensive win in the tournament opener. Nepal's women's cricket team has been eliminated from the Asian Games qualifier after a 5-wicket defeat to China under the DLS method in Kuala Lumpur. In a rain-shortened 7-over match, Nepal scored 50 for 5 before China chased down the revised target of 43 on the final delivery. The result ends Nepal's qualification hopes despite the earlier group stage win over China. Coming up next, Prime Minister Balendra Shah faces lawmakers in a first-of-its-kind parliamentary question and answer session amid political uproar and accountability debate. More on that in our issue of the day after this short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Now on to our issue of the day segment. Prime Minister Balendra Shah has faced lawmakers in Parliament for the first time in a direct question and answer session, following intense political pressure and public criticism over his earlier absence from parliamentary proceedings. Here are the details.
Following quite an upheaval, Prime Minister Balendra Shah appeared before lawmakers and responded directly to questions raised by members of parliament, marking his first such engagement since assuming office after the elections. The session comes after days of disruption in parliament and growing backlash on social media, where the Prime Minister's earlier non-appearance had triggered widespread debate over executive accountability and parliamentary norms. In Sunday's sitting, lawmakers from both ruling and opposition parties were given the opportunity to question the Prime Minister directly. According to parliamentary procedure, 7 lawmakers, including 6 selected on a party representation basis and 1 independent MP, posed questions to the Prime Minister. The question and answer session began with Nepali Congress MP Arjun Narsingh Kesi, who raised concerns regarding the National Human Rights Commission report on losses during the Gen Z movement. In response, the Prime Minister stressed that not only recent reports but also findings from various historical periods should be implemented to ensure long-term institutional accountability.
विभिन्न कालखण्डमा भएका आन्दोलनहरू र्यालीहरूमा भएका कुराहरूको प्रतिवेदनहरू धेरै छन्। एउटा मात्रै प्रतिवेदन छैन मानव अधिकार आयोगको र विभिन्न आयोगहरू पनि गठन भएका छन् विभिन्न कालखण्डमा। आजसम्म नेपाल सरकारलाई बुझाइएको जति पनि आयोगका प्रतिवेदनहरू छन् ती सबै प्रतिवेदनहरूलाई एकमुष्ट रूपमा नेपाल सरकारले अध्ययन गर्छ र गर्नुपर्ने काम कारबाही त्यही हिसाबले गर्छ। धन्यवाद।
Addressing questions from CPN UML MP Padma Aryal on the India-Nepal border dispute, the Prime Minister stated that the issue will be resolved strictly through diplomatic channels, reaffirming Nepal's commitment to peaceful resolution.
दुईटै सरकारले आफ्नो इतिहासविदहरू राखेर आफ्नो सर्वेयरहरू राखेर आफ्नो भूमि सम्बन्धी जानकारी भएका व्यक्तिहरू राखेर टेबल टक मार्फत यो कुरालाई समाधान गर्ने कुरा भएको छ.
Responding to questions from CPN Communist Party Nepal, MP Pramesh Hamal, the Prime Minister noted that as Nepal transitions into a developing economy, policy attention must also be given to trade and export-related tax structures, including exemptions and incentives. On the issue of informal settlements raised by Shram Sanskriti Party, MP R.N. Rai, the Prime Minister clarified that genuine landless families currently placed in holding centers would be provided land management solutions by the government.
जो सहीमा सुकुम्बासी हुनुहुन्छ जसको चाहिँ देशभरि कतै पनि एक दूर जग्गा पनि छैन, एक आना जग्गा पनि छैन, उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ त्यो जग्गाको व्यवस्थापन नेपाल सरकारले गर्नुपर्छ. त्यो हाम्रो सरकारको र हाम्रो पार्टीको मान्यता हो.
Replying to RPP MP Khushbu Oli regarding misuse of visit visas, the Prime Minister said strict instructions have already been issued to prevent abuse and strengthen immigration monitoring mechanisms. Independent MP Mahabir Pun raised concerns over voting rights for Nepali citizens abroad. The Prime Minister responded that the matter is under study and further legal and administrative review is required before implementation. Concluding the session, the Prime Minister assured his own party's lawmaker, Kabindra Burlakoti, that the government remains fully committed to good governance, elimination of irregularities, and zero tolerance toward corruption. The unprecedented format of immediate questioning and response led to brief procedural confusion within the House and among parliamentary staff, as such a direct engagement model had not been previously organized in this manner.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued a statement shedding further light on the Prime Minister's recent remarks in Parliament regarding the Nepal-India border issues. The ministry said the Prime Minister's statement was related to cross-border occupation and encroachment in the Das Gaja area rather than Nepal's position on disputed territories. According to the ministry, joint technical teams from Nepal and India are currently conducting border surveys and collecting data on land use along the frontier. Studies have shown that in some locations, land being used by citizens of one country may technically fall within the territory of the other. The government reiterated that all border-related issues, including those concerning Kalapani, Lipulek, Limpiadhura and Susta, should be resolved through diplomatic dialogue based on historical treaties, maps and mutual understanding. The ministry also reaffirmed Nepal's commitment to settling border disputes peacefully through bilateral negotiations. Lawmakers have raised several contemporary issues in the 0 hour of the House of Representatives session on Sunday. The HOR members have urged the government to address the issues caused due to incessant rains, rising prices of daily essentials, and unemployment, among other issues of public concern. Meanwhile, a meeting of the National Assembly today passed 2 election-related bills received from the House of Representatives along with messages. The Upper House passed the House of Representatives Member Election First Amendment Bill 2083 BS and the Voter List First Amendment Bill 2083 BS by majority votes. Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, Sobita Gautam, on behalf of Prime Minister and Home Minister Balendra Shah, proposed the bills be enacted. She tabled separate proposals before the meeting towards that end. And this wraps up our Issue of the Day segment. Now, in other major development of the day, the government says its newly introduced multi-rate VAT system is designed to strengthen transparency in transactions and encourage a stronger culture of mandatory billing across Nepal's economy. The Ministry of Finance held a press conference this afternoon to shed light on the rife concerns. Here are the details.
The government has clarified the newly introduced multi-rate VAT system in the budget is aimed at encouraging the culture of issuing and receiving mandatory bills. Speaking at a press conference held on Sunday, Finance Minister Dr. Swanim Wagle stated that the new arrangements are designed to strengthen transparency in transactions and promote formal billing practices across the country. The minister further claimed that the reforms could also help more Nepalese become financially prosperous, even suggesting that the system could create opportunities for citizens to become millionaires.
भन्ने कुरा त्यो गलत हो बजेट सानो हो जीडीपी प्रक्षेपित जीडीपी को सापेक्षतामा जम्मा 28.5% को बजेट आएको छ हाम्रो प्रक्षेपित जीडीपी 74-58 छ त्यो अलिकति तल पनि हुन सक्छ अब हु नोज माथि पनि जान सक्छ त्यो पछिको कुरा भयो मध्यावधि संशोधनमा हामी ती कुराहरू हेरौँला तर आजका मितिमा यो चाहिँ 30% भन्दा माथिको ट्रेन्डलाई हामीले भत्काएर अहिले त्यही पुरानो 25 देखि राज्यको क्षमता अनुकूल हुने गरेर आकारलाई त्यसैले बजेट ठूलो होइन जीडीपी को सापेक्षतामा सानै बजेट आएको छ भन्ने कुरा म यहाँलाई निवेदन गर्न चाहन्छु।
During the briefing, the finance minister also emphasized that for a developing country like Nepal, relying solely on income tax is insufficient for large-scale revenue mobilization. He said the government is prioritizing a consumption-based tax system to strengthen national revenue collection. Minister Wagle added that improved infrastructure such as roads, electricity and security services would boost private sector confidence, leading to increased investment and expansion of economic activities. He expressed the government's ambition to grow Nepal's economy from around 70 trillion Nepali rupees to 100 trillion rupees within the next 7 years.
यति फोकस हामी जेनेरेसनमा मात्र गरेका छौं अर्को 3-4 वर्ष त यो पूर्वाधार बनाउनै लाग्छ त्यसैले त्यसको लगानी अघि भने जस्तै 85 अर्बको हाराहारीमा लगानीलाई यहीबाट पनि अलिकति थोरै ठूला ऋण लिनै पर्छ नेपाल सरकारले राजस्व पनि त्यहाँ साइफन गर्नै पर्छ तर नेपाली जनताको पनि त्यहाँ स्टेक रहोस् न यत्रो हाम्रो राष्ट्रिय समृद्धिको प्रमुख खम्बा स्वच्छ ऊर्जामा सबैको लगानी रहोस् भनेर पनि त्यो कल्पना गरिएको छ।
He also clarified that the 3% VAT on education has been designed in a way that does not create an unnecessary burden on the middle class while ensuring targeted social equity support. On the energy sector, the finance minister stated that VAT on electricity tariffs has been introduced to support long-term development of the power system. He further clarified that capital gains tax from share trading will be treated as the final tax, aiming to remove confusion among investors. Additionally, he dismissed rumors regarding employee allowances, confirming that the announced 10% incentive allowance applies uniformly to all government employees.
Coming up next, Nepal marks World No Tobacco Day as the government hikes cigarette taxes, and we also hear from youths on what they think about the new move in our cover story after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Now on to our cover story segment. Today marks World No Tobacco Day. Across Nepal, the day was observed under the slogan, "Unmasking the illusion of tobacco and nicotine products, stay away from addiction, choose a healthy life." Here's a report.
Health experts are warning that the use of tobacco and nicotine products, including newer forms like e-cigarettes and vapes, is increasing in Nepal, especially among young people and children. They say nicotine is highly addictive and can seriously affect brain development during adolescence, raising long-term health risks. According to the Nepal Development Research Institute, around 6.7 million people in Nepal use tobacco products, about 34% of the population. Of them, 57% are men and 11% are women. Health data shows that around 39,200 people die every year in Nepal due to tobacco-related illnesses. Globally, the World Health Organization (WHO) estimates more than 8 million deaths annually are linked to tobacco use, including around 1.2 million from secondhand smoke. WHO also says hundreds of millions of people, including a significant number of adolescents, are exposed to tobacco products. Experts are calling for stricter regulation, including bans on flavored nicotine products, stronger enforcement of advertising restrictions, and the creation of fully smoke-free public spaces. They also warn that aggressive marketing by tobacco companies, including flavored products and social media promotion, is making nicotine use more attractive to young users. Public health authorities are urging the government to strengthen tobacco control laws and ensure effective enforcement to reduce growing health risks linked to smoking and vaping.
On World No Tobacco Day 2026 today, Nepal government has urged tobacco users across Nepal to quit the habit starting today. Already, the government has announced increment in cigarette taxes by 10% in the upcoming fiscal year 2026-27 in a bid to curb the rising tobacco and alcohol use. Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle said the move targets healthier behavior, not just higher revenue, while Health Minister Nisha Mehta warned of growing tobacco-related deaths and youth-targeted nicotine marketing. Here's a report by Sabika Shrestha.
Nepal government has announced a 10% increase in taxes on cigarettes as part of the national budget for the fiscal year 2026-27 in a move positioned as both a public health intervention and a revenue-boosting measure. During the budget presentation in the federal parliament on Friday, Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle emphasized that the policy aims primarily to curb harmful consumption rather than simply increase in government revenue.
सुरोटमा करिब 10% र मदिरा तथा बियरमा लाग्ने अन्तशुल्कमा वृद्धि गरेको छु। गैर कर राजस्व परिचालनलाई प्रभावकारी बनाउन छाता कानून ल्याउने छौं।
Officials argue that price increment remains one of the most effective deterrents, particularly among young people and low-income groups who are more sensitive to cost changes. The policy is also expected to align fiscal tools with long-term health outcomes. Public health concerns remain central to the decision. Health experts have warned that Nepal is increasingly burdened by non-communicable diseases such as cancer, cardiovascular conditions, and chronic respiratory illnesses, many of which are directly linked to tobacco and alcohol use. In such context, the tax hike is being viewed as part of a preventive health strategy aimed at reducing future healthcare costs and disease prevalence. Minister of Health and Food Hygiene Nisha Mehta emphasized the scale of the problem, stating that the industry is increasingly targeting young people through flavored and visually appealing nicotine products, often promoted through social media.
हामी सबैले के बुझ्न जरुरी छ भने चाहे ई-सिगरेट होस्, भेप होस् या हुक्का, यी सबैमा परम्परागत श्रुतिजन्य पदार्थहरूमा जस्तै हानिकारक निकोटिन र विषाक्त तत्त्वहरू हुन्छन्। यसले मानिसहरूलाई बिस्तारै लतमा फसाउँछ र कलेजो, फोक्सो तथा मुटु सम्बन्धित गम्भीर रोगहरू निम्त्याउँछ। भ्रममा नपरौं, ई-सिगरेट र भेप पनि उत्तिकै घातक र हानिकारक छन्। श्रुतिजन्य पदार्थका यी विद्यमान र उदीयमान चुनौतीहरूको सामना गर्न नेपाल सरकारले नियन्त्रण र नियमन सम्बन्धी कानून व्यवस्थापनको प्रभावकारी कार्यान्वयन विशेष जोड दिएको छ। सरकारको यस अभियानलाई सफल बनाउन मती नै तहका सरकार, सामाजिक अगुवा, शैक्षिक क्षेत्र, सञ्चार जगत तथा सम्पूर्ण सरोकारका निकायहरूलाई एकबद्धता र सहकार्यका लागि हार्दिक अपील गर्दछु।
While most of the public health advocates have largely welcomed the tax increase, some argue that a 10% hike may not be sufficient to significantly reduce consumption among habitual users. It is also cautioned that without strong enforcement, higher taxes could encourage illicit trade and smuggling, potentially weakening both health and revenue goals. The government has also emphasized stricter enforcement of tobacco control laws and improved regulation of alcohol production. Officials have called for coordinated efforts across all levels of government, civil society, and media to address what they describe as a growing and evolving public health threat. Sabika Shrestha, NTV World.
We reached the youths for their views on the government's new tax hike on tobacco products and its impact on smoking habits. Here's what they had to say.
I think increasing taxes on tobacco is a positive step for Nepal because it causes serious health problems and puts a burden on both families and the healthcare system as well. Also, higher prices can discourage people, especially youngsters, from starting or continuing smoking or getting involved in these things. However, taxation alone isn't enough, I think, because the government also should ensure that the revenue collected is invested in healthcare and awareness campaigns. At the same time, authorities need to control illegal tobacco trade so that the policy achieves its intended public health goals.
My opinion on the new tax hike on tobacco products, overall I welcome it. I think it's a good step. Things that have negative externality on society, such as tobacco, where there's unintended or obvious negative consequences to society, should be deterred. So taxing is a way to do that. At the same time, the government should also use these funds, these proceeds, to create support networks for people who are going through addiction, help them with alternative therapy modes. So yeah, overall I support it. Nepal taxes it much less than a lot of our neighboring countries or also the global average. So there's a lot of space for us to tax it so it doesn't become affordable year after year. But also at the same time, didn't really hear much from the budget speech about sort of support system for people in addiction, so I would also really appreciate that.
I think this is very good. The money that will be collected from this, that is the sin tax, will be used for the betterment of the people.
Now on to the rest of the updates. Gold prices have seen a sharp rise in Nepal's domestic market today. According to the Federation of Nepal Gold and Silver Dealers Association, the price of gold increased by 20,500 rupees per tola compared to Friday's trading. With this surge, gold is now being traded at 311,100 rupees per tola, up from 290,600 at the end of last week. Silver prices have also climbed, rising to 5,345 rupees per tola from Friday's 5,040 rupees. Officials say fluctuations in the international market and demand pressures have contributed to the sudden spike in precious metal prices. Nepal's local judicial committees are facing growing scrutiny as concerns mount over their limited authority in resolving disputes at the community level. Established under the federal system to provide fast, affordable and accessible justice, the committees were intended to reduce citizens' dependence on district courts. However, officials say their restricted jurisdiction means many disputes still cannot be settled locally and must be referred to higher courts. At a conference in Bagmati province, representatives warned that this is leading to longer legal processes, higher costs for citizens, and added pressure on the judiciary. They are now calling for legal reforms, clearer mandates, and expanded authority to strengthen local dispute resolution and improve access to justice. The 6th Nepal Indigenous Nationalities Film Festival has begun in Kathmandu, focusing on the promotion of indigenous languages, cultures, and identities through cinema. Inaugurated by Film Development Board Chairperson Dinesh DC, the three-day festival is being organized by the Indigenous Film Federation of Nepal. The event features feature films, short films, documentaries, and AI-generated content representing indigenous communities, including Limbu, Newar, Gurung, Tharu, and Magar, among others. Speaking at the opening, organizers emphasized the need for respectful and authentic representation of indigenous people in Nepali cinema. In a world of fast food and global flavors, one of the festivals in Western Nepal is bringing people back to their roots with one traditional dish at a time. Here's a report by Aprila Khising Lama with local correspondent Sunil Karki from Palpa.
A street food festival in Western Nepal is helping preserve traditional cuisine, promote local culture, and create new economic opportunities for communities. Held in Palpa under the theme Eat on the Streets, Celebrate on the Streets, and Preserve Indigenous Food, the festival showcased a wide variety of traditional dishes that are increasingly disappearing from everyday life. Beyond the food, the event also celebrated Nepal's rich cultural heritage through traditional music and performances, offering visitors a glimpse into centuries-old customs that remain an important part of local identity. Organizers say the festival is not only about preserving culinary traditions, but also about supporting local livelihoods. Many of the food stalls were run by women, helping transform home-based cooking skills into income-generating opportunities. Locally produced agricultural goods were also promoted, providing farmers and small businesses with a platform to reach consumers. Participants say such events have become increasingly important at a time when rising living costs and weaker consumer spending are affecting local markets.
यसले आय आजनका साथसाथै हाम्रा ती खानाहरूको संरक्षणमा पनि अत्यन्तै ठुलो चाहिँ मद्दत गर्छ।
समूहमा धेरै सामानहरू जोडेर हामी त्यहाँ लगानी गर्छौँ।
As communities around the world grapple with the challenge of preserving traditional food cultures in an era of globalization, Palpa Street Food Festival offers an example of how local cuisine can be used to safeguard heritage, support small businesses, and strengthen community identity. Aprila Khising Lama with local correspondent Sunil Karki reporting for NTV World.
International news coming up next. For now, a quick recap of the headlines. Prime Minister responds to lawmakers' queries in the Parliament. Foreign Ministry clarifies Prime Minister's border remarks refer to cross-border occupation issues. Finance Minister Wagle claims new tax structure could help create wealth opportunities and support broad economic prosperity. Government calls for stronger action against tobacco use and vaping, marking No Tobacco Day. U.S. Undersecretary Sarah Rogers highlights innovation and safer expedition tourism at Ascent Summit 2026 in Kathmandu. Iran Parliament moves to regulate Strait of Hormuz as U.S. under Trump pushes tougher nuclear deal framework. And mixed fortunes for Nepal cricket as men secure big win over China and women exit qualifiers. China has called on the United States to meet each other halfway and maintain stable and healthy military relations in Beijing's first official response to a major security address by U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. Major General Meng Xianqing, the head of the Chinese delegation, said this year's speech reflected the outcomes of the Trump-Xi meeting and further shows stable U.S.-China relations is good for regional stability and global peace.
从上午会议现场的提问和反应当中，我感受到，前不久中美两国元首的会晤，在这次相会上引起的关注程度是非常高的。这进一步说明，中美关系的稳定不仅有利于两国人民，更有利于地区稳定和世界和平。这一次两国元首会晤的最重要的政治共识，就是同意构建中美建设性战略稳定关系。
Meanwhile, Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro commented on regional security developments in the South China Sea, stating that the Philippines would uphold its territorial integrity and sovereignty in line with its constitution. His remarks came after Manila confirmed plans to receive military assets from Japan in fiscal year 2027.
So perhaps the problem does not lie within
ASEAN, the problem lies with the counterparty to the code of conduct. And because with that counterparty, namely China, the claimant states of ASEAN, 4 claimant states, have different issues. And for us, we will not sacrifice our territorial integrity and sovereignty because our Constitution does not allow us to do so.
The US, UK and Australia say they will develop underwater drone technology to protect undersea cables and boost defense under the military alliance known as AUKUS. Australia, meanwhile, has said it will only receive used nuclear-powered submarines from the United States as a part of an agreement to streamline the AUKUS deal, with the move branded as cost-effective measure by it.
This is an incredibly complicated endeavour for two countries, the US and the UK, to be providing the capability to a third, Australia, to operate a nuclear-powered submarine capability. I mean, it's only happened once before, when America provided that technology to the UK decades ago. In the context of a very complicated endeavour, we need to place a premium on simplicity.
World Health Organization Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that the Ebola outbreak can be stopped during a visit to Bunia in Ituri province, which is the epicenter of the current Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There have been at least 1,077 suspected cases of Ebola in the DRC since the outbreak was declared on May 15, including 246 deaths.
The President and the Prime Minister are also engaged. I had already met the Prime Minister yesterday, and they have already allocated $20 million, and they are mobilizing, and under their leadership, with the support from all partners, we believe that we can stop it. But of course, there could be some analysis, that we need to check and see if there are challenges, address them.
The medical charity Doctors Without Borders, MSF, however, has warned that the rapid spread of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo has created a deeply alarming situation. Business and sports when we return. Do stay tuned.
Myanmar's paddy farmers have started tending their land as the monsoon planting season begins, but fuel and fertilizer price hikes caused by the US-Iran war threaten this year's harvest. Myanmar imports up to 95% of its chemical fertilizers, the United Nations World Food Programme WFP says, leaving it highly exposed to supply shocks caused by the Middle East war. The surge in input cost is forcing many farmers to cut back on fertilizer use or borrow money to finance cultivation, increasing financial risks in rural communities. The WFP warns a 50% drop in fertilizer use could result in farming output dipping up to 15% in Myanmar, where food insecurity is already widespread. Japan's SoftBank Group will invest 45 billion euros over the next 5 years in a push to build up artificial intelligence infrastructure in France, the company announced. SoftBank said the investment, described as the biggest of its kind so far in Europe, would be made in the northern Hauts-de-France region and deliver 3.1 gigawatt of capacity. French engineering company Schneider Electric said it would be one of the project's key partners and equip the sites with its modules without disclosing financials. 3 sites are expected to come into operation by 2031. In China's Guangzhou, researchers at the Guangdong Academy of Agricultural Sciences are developing new lychee varieties to boost productivity, exports, and farmer incomes. The city hosts the world's largest lychee gene bank, with nearly 800 varieties collected from across China and overseas. Scientists recently achieved a major breakthrough by producing the world's first lychee longan hybrid after 11 years of research. China's lychee industry is worth about $4.4 billion and accounts for roughly 70% of global production.
Time now for Sports Update. Nepal has entered the semi-finals of the SAF Women's Championship 2026 from its group by defeating Sri Lanka in the match played at the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in India's Goa today. Nepal won the match over Sri Lanka 2-0 and emerged as the winner of Group A. Nepal won 2 games played against Bhutan and Sri Lanka. With the victory today, Nepal and Bhutan advanced to the semi-finals of the SAF Women's Championship 2026 from Group A, following Nepal's win over Sri Lanka. For Nepal, Rasmi Kumar Ghising and Renuka Nagarkoti scored 1 goal each. Sri Lanka could not advance to the semi-finals as it lost the match. Paris Saint-Germain underlined its status as one of European football's greatest ever teams by becoming only the second club to retain the Champions League. Their nervy 4-3 win on penalties over Arsenal following a 1-1 draw in the final in Budapest backed up their 5-0 win over Inter Milan in Munich 12 months ago. In doing so, it became the first side to successfully defend its title since Real Madrid's 3-peat from 2016 to 2018, and only the second to do it in the Champions League era 1993 onwards. If it continues its dominance next season, PSG could become just the 5th side to win 3 successive Champions League or European Cup titles. Meanwhile, clashes between football fans and police across France have led to more than 400 arrests following the victory of PSG in the Champions League final. Fireworks and flares were set off while several police officers were injured in the fray. Police fired tear gas to disperse crowds in the city centre. There was similar violence when PSG won the same trophy last year, with celebrations turning deadly. Now the weather update, first from Nepal and then the world. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Prime Minister responds to lawmakers' queries in the Parliament. Foreign Ministry clarifies Prime Minister's border remarks referred to cross-border occupation issues. Finance Minister Wagle claims new tax structure could help create wealth opportunities and support broader economic prosperity. Government calls for stronger action against tobacco use and vaping, marking No Tobacco Day. U.S. Undersecretary Sarah Rogers highlights innovation and safer expedition tourism at Ascent Summit 2026 in Kathmandu. Iran parliament moves to regulate Strait of Hormuz as U.S. under Trump pushes tougher nuclear deal framework. And mixed fortunes for Nepal cricket as men secure big win over China and women exit qualifiers. That's it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.